order the meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission for December 20th, 2017. The first hearing is a RDA request from the Town of Harwich Department of Public Works for work done on Lower County Bridge over the Herring River. Amy, I guess you can present it to us.
Sure. This, I issued an emergency certification a little over a month ago for the town, and actually Robert Our Company performed the work. The eastward portion, right as the bridge kind of turned into land, was starting to sink. The drainage, there was an issue with the drainage between the two catch basins, and there was also some undermining. So if you stood on the curbing, it moved down. And then also because of, we've had significant rain events, an 8-inch storm, a 5-inch storm. Even the best stormwater systems aren't designed to take that. So it had washed over the road and down the embankment, further scouring it, washing right into the river. So in addition to saw cutting the road, redoing the underside of the road with fill and crushed stone, and then repaving, they also put 6 to 12-inch stone at the top of the bank and a little bit running down to slow down any water in the future that's going to go over there. So it was done within 3 hours, the work, but it was right really on the resource, on the bank going into the river. So I had them file an after the fact RDA for the work. It really is a public roadway, but the banking itself was kind of what triggered this emergency, or the after the fact RDA for it. So if you go over there, it's a very small section. You can actually see where the fresh pavement is. I had given them permission to go all the way up to the middle of the road, depending on how bad the undermining was, but they really only needed to do like a 4 by 6 or 8 section, which is great. So I would recommend approval with a -3.
Thank you, Amy. Any comments from the commissioners? Yeah.
I have a question. Excuse me, is this a permanent repair, or will they need additional repairing?
In the future, I think the catch basins and the drainage is going to need to be looked at. That is a low point. They fixed to the extent that it was undermined, but I think all the roads in Harwich, and particularly Lower County, are being evaluated right now. So in the next year, no. But in the long run, just like any other, yes.
Okay.
Any comments, Ernie?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the after-the-fact work with a -3 determination on the Lower County Road Bridge over the Herring River repair.
I second.
A second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed?
Please
Motion
sign.
carries.
Ernie, can you hold those at your end, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Can I borrow your pen? I don't want to do it in pink.
I don't know if that's against the rules or not.
Just looks tacky.
Let's see the person here for our next one.
They
You
have-
announce, I don't see the person here yet for it,
Okay.
but you might want to announce and continue it later to the meeting
Okay.
for Chase Street.
Next, we have a notice of intent for the Tidewater Nominee Trust for 44 Chase Street. It's a proposal to construct a swimming pool, pool shed, fence, and relocation of existing drive. If we don't have the applicant here, we can continue to
Yeah, we do have
later.
somebody who's interested, but not the applicant, so
Okay.
everyone okay with holding off till after the end of the hearing?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Next is a notice of intent.
Well, she just came in.
Okay. Well then.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right, you're on.
44 Chase Street.
Press time.
It would be 30 seconds later.
Sorry, John.
Sorry, I'm trying to be fast.
This is fine.
Merry Christmas.
As long as you mailed it on time, we're good.
Yeah, it's all fine. Two of them got labeled the same.
Take a breath, please.
Good evening. Lynn Hamlin here for the applicant. This project is kind of interesting. There's several resource areas. There is a river and a riverfront. There's a coastal bank. There's a salt marsh at the bottom of the bank. This project went back before you even saw it to make sure that it was redesigned to conform with the regulations. So it's simply a proposed pool, accessory to a single-family dwelling. We established the top of coastal bank in accordance with Wetlands Protection Policy 92-1, and it occurs where the slope becomes less than 10%. You'll see that the pool is located purposefully within the existing driveway footprint, which they will remove and reconfigure to be outside of your jurisdiction. There's no apron really associated with the pool. It's simply going to be a grassed area surrounded by native plantings. There is a significant net reduction in hardscape on the property by removing the driveway and locating the pool within the driveway footprint of, I believe it, 3,036 square feet net reduction in hardscape. We proposed that in the case of repair or emergency, they need to drain the pool, that it be directed away from the resource areas, or if you have a special condition that you like it trucked off-site, we don't care. It's got the standard, the non-chlorine filtering system, the cartridge system. I write a pretty extensive narrative that I'm not going to read back to you. I assume everybody read it, and I'll just take questions.
Amy, do you want to provide us with a summary?
Let's see. What would be, I see between the actual pool itself and the fence, it's supposed to be vegetated, so grass lawn.
We submitted a landscape plan. Did you get that?
No, I'm sure I did. I just didn't
Okay.
get that.
Trent Lloyd, landscape designer, actually submitted a landscape plan. I sent it back once because it was with fountain grasses. I said you didn't like them. I assumed you didn't like them. Maybe you don't have a problem with them. But, and they replaced everything with native vegetation.
Yeah, that would be preferable.
So it's clethra and then some
Oh, I
native.
see. And I did see this. Pardon me.
There's some native grasses.
Pardon me. A couple of things. As always, you did a great job of going through the performance standards in detail. I just have a few questions for you. I do see on site today. Actually, I was a little thrown off. I do see you have top of coastal on the southwesternmost part of the property, where kind of it says your 50-foot, where your 50-foot no disturb is shown, where the 50 is. You do have top of coastal bank at the top. When I was reading it down below, it looked like it was shown closer to the marsh, but I
It's
just wanted to
probably
clarify that for the commissioners.
Probably a transect flag. I do
Yeah.
flags for spot elevations
Yep.
rather than to have them interpolated through contours because it's the way you're supposed to do it.
Right. So on site today, I got a little confused about where in that location, because the rest of the bank is kind of obvious, but there's a little bit of a break in that banking on that end. So I do want to just, for the record, for those of us who are out there, I think that, Ms. Hamlin is correct in the location of her top of coastal bank and her 50-foot buffer zone there. So that's just clarification for everybody. That does still put the fence around the pool right at the 50. So that's something that we can definitely talk about. If you read the Rivers Act, first of all, if you go to the site, it's a very highly disturbed site with house and lawn and driveway and pool and whatnot. So the performance standards for being within the 200-foot riverfront area, which half of this property is you have to prove that you're not making things worse and actually trying to make things a little bit better. Is one of the performance standards. The other that I was curious about, and maybe by giving us the square feet of difference between the driveway and then what the pool is going to be. The 5,000 square foot threshold for being within a riverfront area, or 10% of the riverfront area on the lot.
That's not for redevelopment. Redevelopment has its own set of regulations. So it's new construction, that's the 5,000, 10% for
Okay.
redevelopment.
For some reason, my regulations, and I thought that might be the case, actually.
Yeah,
But
I-
my regulations do not, for some reason, have this say, it doesn't say development, redevelopment in my
Oh.
version.
Oh, that's why I try to cut and paste, so you don't have to look it all up. Did I cut and paste? Yes, I did. I cut and paste, it's in italics within the body of my narrative.
Thank
But
you.
for redevelopment, they're just looking, like Amy said, for it not to be any worse and to be better. And they consider hardscape. So whether it's a gravel driveway or a building, it gets weighed the same in the riverfront. So simply by reducing the hardscape, which is removal of the driveway, manyfold, reducing per the reduction versus the new, I conform to the Rivers Act. So one of the things, and I did, it's all in my narrative, you can't be any closer than you already are, and the house obviously is the closest, so we're no closer than we already are. I'm not required to do any mitigation because it's a reduction. If I were increasing, you can increase your heart's content as long as you can mitigate 2 to 1, and that's their standard, but we reduced significantly, so there was no requirement to
Yep.
do any mitigation. So we do conform with the Rivers regs.
Yep. Thank you for the clarification. So the area where, the whole fenced-in area and where the pool is, it's all either, right now, it's either maintained lawn or gravel driveway. So in terms of, is this having any adverse impact? No, it's actually, in my mind, less. How, it's an in-ground pool,
Yes.
I'm guessing? That would be kind of
Oh.
strange if it wasn't, but you never know.
No, you never know.
I was just curious a little bit about if when they dug it, if they were gonna be working in the water table, if they were gonna have to be,
No, they're way up high.
They are up high
Yeah, they're
enough.
way up high. So we're at elevation 11,
yep,
and the water table's gonna be somewhere 3, 4 maybe.
and how
So-
deep is the pool? That, I guess is,
Yeah, it's not gonna be 8 feet deep.
okay,
Yeah, no, they're not gonna be, that's
Diving.
not gonna be a problem.
strange question, but I thought of it when I was doing my review. I'm like, are they gonna be in the water table when they're digging? Let's see. Other than that, I mean, I had a few questions that I think have gotten answered as far as this is concerned.
This fence is actually, a lot of times I have customers, that's the wrong store, the store is customers, Wetlands, people are clients, that they put the pool like down next to the marsh and try to call it a pool fence. So I'm always happy when they put the fence actually around the pool instead of putting it down towards the resource area under the guise of it being a pool fence. So this, I was happy to see this.
I'm just to stay kind of consistent with other determinations, when you're right at the 50-foot, the commission typically does ask, I mean, we can ask for a buffer strip in addition to the 50-foot no disturb zone. In this location, a buffer strip at the 50 wouldn't make any sense. But I think the commission has consistently requested when people propose something right at the 50 is to move a few feet off of the 50, so.
Well, I think that there's lawn from the fence down to the top of bank,
Okay.
so we're not in
I'm
anything native. We're also removing driveway, which
Mm-hmm.
is close to the 50, and they're putting in native shrubs and grasses.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that got kicked back because there was fountain grass and everything in there initially. So, I mean, to me, even, there is mitigation provided.
Mm-hmm.
And then the grass, I don't know what, it's not a real manicured lawn. I was out there when it was, I don't know.
Maintained. we'll
Yeah,
just
it's
say.
maintained, definitely. But we've proposed the Cape Cod native mix within the pool area. So I think, like I said, you didn't see the first rendition, which was way down closer. This was specifically kicked back to
Yep.
conform.
You can appreciate that. I don't think mitigation, in my opinion, is necessary for this one. I was just purely speaking about the fence in that corner. So with that, I have no further questions for now.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members? Stan?
I have none. I was concerned about the 50-foot line and how it cut along the bank, which Amy addressed that, so I'm set with that.
Okay.
I was questioning that too. Having gone on site, I was wondering, but fine, I have no
Okay.
questions.
Ernie?
Yeah, Len, you made a comment that under the regs, you can't be any closer than you already are, and you take the position that the existing dwelling is X amount of feet away from the riverbank, so therefore the pool is behind that and it would be acceptable. But it would strike me that you previously said that you're replacing the hardscape that the driveway consists of with this new hardscape, which is the pool, which is closer than the driveway is. So I'm not sure I buy that argument that you're not any closer than you already are, because the driveway is probably 25 feet away from the resource area.
I see what you're saying, but the regs specifically say existing hardscape on the property. And the building is as hardscape as you're gonna
If
get.
you had a boathouse down on the bank of the river, you're saying that anything inland
Absolutely.
of that would be acceptable?
Well,
Under rivers, not under our
Right.
bylaw.
Right.
Yeah.
But they count the house.
And how does the bylaw cover that?
Not in the 15-foot no disturb. We
Yeah.
don't have anything stronger in our regs for riverfront
Yeah.
than the state.
and they view square footage too, so it's, we're no closer than existing construction. The Rivers Act, when it first came out, it's still a little convoluted, but we're kind of used to dealing with the convolutedness of it.
Yeah.
Many appeals cases, they're a big concern with square footage, and over the 200 feet. So the fact that we have a net reduction of over 3,000 square feet is a big boon under the redevelopment regs of the Rivers Act.
All right. So they're repositioning the driveway to go directly into the existing garage, correct? Is there going to be a walkway or some sort of hardscape added to get to the house from the garage?
I am not showing any, so if there were, you would see me again.
Good.
Or a walkway going from the house, more formal to the pool. So.
Yeah.
Very good question. If I thought of it, I would have asked them.
No, but if they do,
Yeah,
I assume they'll put something, otherwise, you'll have to pass pressure on.
I missed that question.
Right.
Try to think of them all.
they just be like a flagstone.
All right.
But if there is, then I actually ask them.
And then, one other question for you is, there's a comment in here about low-impact minimum fertilizer plan to be presented. I mean, they have a lovely lawn there. Obviously, they fertilize it very well right now. Are they going to change that in conformance with this requirement?
I don't have that information. I didn't ask them about their future plans with their lawn.
Okay.
I know that you have a whole lawn regulations.
Yeah, that's directly from our regs.
Right, I just cut and paste from your regulations, and typically, it's for when you're putting in a lawn. A lot of times, commissioners write regulations as recommendations, and that would be fine.
I would recommend putting that in as a condition.
Okay. All right.
And
Well, I
actually,
think
this is a
that's-
standard application rate, I mean, even for any,
They will be installing a new lawn, obviously, around the pool, so I think
Correct.
that applies here.
Yes.
And I would strongly suggest that we ask that they
For the
apply
whole
those
site.
standards to the entire site as well.
Anything within the 200 anyways. within
Yeah,
our
I mean, it's
jurisdiction.
so close to the river, and there's such a great opportunity for nitrogen runoff into the river and everything else that I think we need to make certain that they comply with whatever those standards are.
I think this property, right, so I think this property, I mean, visited the site, the house is older, it's been there for a very long time, they've probably been doing these other practices for a very long time, so to get them more into conformance than they probably are, is a good thing.
yeah, that's a great rate. I mean, what you propose is
It's fairly minimal.
yeah.
Okay, good. I have no other questions at this point.
So back to the fertilizer point, would that be in the 50 to 100 or the whole area where the lawn exists?
Well, honestly, I can't imagine you got to change your fertilizing strategy just because you, I mean, to me, if you apply a fertilizing strategy, you'd use it over your whole lawn.
Well, we have a TMDL for the Herring River to reduce
Correct.
nitrogen.
I'm saying I can't imagine they would use, you know, the recommended and then change it. I would imagine they would just use it through the whole lawn.
Right, but it's a pretty sensitive area. The town is striving to try to reduce that loading, so we're looking for
I
opportunities.
think you're getting for nothing in the 0 to 50 is where you're going, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's a really important issue. And so, you know, that cosmetic point you're making is not that important to the commission. We would like to see no fertilizer in 0 to 50.
You know, it's interesting, and I don't want to take up other people's time, but Bill Clark did a lot of research, or gleaned a lot of research, I'm sure you know Bill Clark, about the studies on fertilizer, and there's a whole lot of studies, not diminishing your point at all, but the worry about your point maybe, that that fertilizer on residential use isn't as impacting as one might think, based on the studies that they used. And you have to, it's recommended to use enough fertilizer to have a healthy vegetative lawn, because in itself seeks to filter things. So if you don't fertilize at all and you have this skimpy little thing, and then you have erosion and sedimentation, so it's important to apply enough fertilizer to have, it's like having something you don't feed, it doesn't do well, and it's not going to provide the function that you want it to, is to provide an absorption and a buffer. So there is a balance, you know, obviously.
Well, we could get off on a tangent, because I would disagree with that. I think providing shading and bushes and shrubs is far superior than to feel like you have to fertilize. Most studies have found 8 to 15% of our nitrogen loading is from lawn fertilizing use. So pretty small percentage, but still one of the few areas where you could possibly reduce it in a public scale. So I think it is significant. But I guess...
They're also not proposing any work in the 0 to 50 here.
Right,
though.
right.
And they put some natives, there'll be a berm around with the new lawn, so they do have a nice berm around it. I
I think what
understand.
is proposed, and if we say organic as well, would be better than what's probably happening now.
Right. So the one point I want to come back to, I think, is the fence on the 50. I think we've been pretty consistent asking to pull those structures off the 50 with a 5 to 10 foot vegetative buffer strip. And in this case, I understand your argument, but I also see an awful lot of space. There seems to be nothing keeping that pool from being set back to provide that 5 to 10 foot strip. And so that's the one feature I'd like to see modified here. There's a lot of room where that existing gravel driveway is, so to move it back wouldn't seem to have any consequence on the plan.
This was designed, I mean, this took a long time to get back to me. I can't say that. I mean, this is in this location. This is a second location. And there was a lot of, and I don't know specifically the reasons. I think a pool, I mean, the pool itself is that's 98 feet away from the marsh. What did I do with my scale? I ran up there too quickly.
It's been a while since we've had a structure like this in the 50 to 100 where we've said, okay, build it right in the 50. So it's pretty common for us to ask to pull that back.
So the pool itself is 78 feet from the top of the bank.
Right, the fence is right on the 50 line, isn't it?
The fence is, no, not really.
Looks like
The
it.
corner.
Well, that's
That corner
just
is-
that one corner. I mean, they could angle it off 5 feet if you want.
I
It's
think
just
that's what
that.
he's saying.
We typically ask for 5 to 10 feet to pull
So I
new
can-
structures off that
I
line.
can angle the fence 5 feet off
Mm-hmm.
I don't imagine that's gonna give anybody heartburn.
I think, and that's what you're saying, just that corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to have it consistent, I agree with your point on mitigation. You have a lot of space there, so I don't think we have to seek mitigation for this, but I think allowing structures to sit right in that 50 when we have a bylaw that allows us to ask for this vegetative buffer strip is something we've consistently done. So I think that's what I'd like to see here.
So pull that fence 5 feet off that corner, just angle it.
How do people feel about that?
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I would agree with
It's in our
that.
regs, it's
Yeah.
like an additional, on top of the 50-foot no disturbs, on the commission may ask for an additional strip.
And because it's lawn, there's no real sense to put plantings in that strip.
No, and they're actually, I mean, in the, as Lynn said, within the pool fence itself, they've gone native, which is, so that's better than.
There's a lot of clethra going in there,
Yeah, it's
and a
good.
lot of native grasses going in there.
Yeah, I like it.
Do we have enough to move forward? I know we typically like to see the numbers of changes in the areas. Do we have
She
it?
provided, yep.
Do we have it just in the narrative?
I'm not gonna,
It's-
nothing's gonna change because just the fence is moving, no hardscape's moving.
No, I think you're talking about going from the gravel to the pool, the 4,000 versus the 1,000 that we talked about, that you put in your narrative, existing.
Yeah, that's all in my
hardscape.
narrative. I did all the math.
Yeah, we
Going
used-
4,040 square feet of driveway, and
Removed.
1,004 of pool, and 80 for the shed. Fence wasn't counted, but a net reduction of about 3,000 square feet of hardscape.
We usually like to see it in the plan, but I think in this case, we're not seeking mitigation for that area, so,
We could also make her narrative part of the record and put it in the orders of conditions.
okay?
It's that, oh, here's the buffer zone. There's the trouble is you get a buffer zone, then you get a riverfront. So in the buffer zone, in the general notes, there is, existing gravel diet to be removed within the buffer zone, 1,100. But then I have secondary, I have riverfront.
Yeah,
And then the pool within the buffer zone,
yeah.
it's in the general notes on the plan. It gets confusing. They say any narrative over a page long, people stop reading after a page. Anyway. Instead of writing 10-page narratives. It's up to you. I can add those numbers underneath if you want them. I'm going to change the plan for the fence anyway, so if you want the riverfront regs
sure.
on there, Brad, it's not a problem. The riverfront
Yeah, no,
numbers,
I'm just trying to make sure everyone here is comfortable with what you have.
it's not a big
It's a little
deal.
different with trading a driveway for the pool area. But I think we all agree that we're not looking for mitigation, so. So we can condition this to have an amended plan that shows the different configuration?
Yeah, to be provided, could you get it late next week?
Absolutely.
3? That'd be
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I would move we approve the notice of intent for 44 Chase Street, contingent on submission of an amended plan showing the revised fence configuration, and also that fertilization be performed with permission or in accordance with any guideline provided by the Conservation Administrator.
Do you want the pool water trucked off-site?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
in the
think, yeah,
I
and,
think that would be a good thing.
pool water, when empty, would be trucked off-site. Does that cover it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a standard condition for pool.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded. All those in
Who-
favor?
Wait, who seconded? You
We
gotta say
were
it.
both, it was a tie, so you followed the second.
Paula, okay.
Doesn't make any difference.
All those in favor say aye.
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 None opposed, motion
Okay,
carries.
thank you. Everybody have a nice, whatever you celebrate.
True.
Feel free and grab something on your way out.
Okay. Cool. That's up with you.
Okay.
Next. Okay, we have a notice of intent for the Hutton property of 437 Route 28, replacement of the original sewage system with a Title V sewage system, no extension of the existing buildings proposed.
Good evening. John O'Reilly, representing the Huttons. They have recently purchased the Commercial Bay property, which is due south of the Dairy Queen off of Route 28. Their septic system that currently serves the building is basically sitting within the groundwater. So as a result, as part of the sale and Board of Health requirements, we are upgrading the septic system. We have placed the tank in the same general location of where the existing system is, and we have placed the leaching facility as far away from the resource as we could, while maintaining, maneuverability of commercial vehicles that utilize the site. There'll be no change in the existing gravel. We do show a limit of work line. It is quite a distance away. It's on the back side of the gravel drive on the north side of the building. But again, there's a garage door on that side, so there will be some vehicles that might have to get in and out of that. So it's a raised system. Be happy to answer any questions. We have not gone to the Board of Health. They tend to like to see us after we've gone through you folks. And so that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Any comments, Amy?
I ran this by the health director to get any feedback that she might have, and thinking if the Board of Health was going to potentially change anything, we might want to see it ahead of time. She didn't see anything that, even with the variances requested, that wasn't going to meet Board of Health approval. So, as John said, this is a failed cesspool sitting in the groundwater. This will be a raised, about 3-foot wall.
Yes.
Title V compliant system. I did permit, I forgot to tell people this on site today, I did permit them to, off the back side of the building, the vegetation, about a year ago, I permitted them to just kind of clean out the back a little bit because it was literally brushing up against the building. So if anybody else went out there and saw like a 4-foot wide swath, I let them do that administratively for safety reasons. So besides that, this is the maximum extent feasible compliance within conservation, and mostly it's going to go to Board of Health requirements, but I would recommend approval of this project.
Any comments?
No questions.
No.
Ernie?
John, did you consider pivoting the leaching field so it's more in the 100 than it currently is? 90 degrees or something?
We did. Currently, this is the paved portion
Yep.
out behind the 400. It's the 400 east still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Vehicles come in and off that way, and there is a need to get a vehicle back here.
Okay.
This is a landscape business.
Oh, and it's going to be
Vehicles.
raised too, isn't it?
And it's going to be
Yeah.
raised.
Yeah, that answers it then. Okay, good. No other questions then?
The capacity of the system is much larger. Is that for a reason or just to make Title V?
We sized the system what they were regulated or what the design flow was on record with the Board of Health. And that's what we designed on. We didn't want to show an increase of that design flow for various reasons. We don't want an expanded use on the property, so that's how we came up with the design flow.
A more of a process question. Could this project have qualified with a request for determination? Or did it have to be a notice of intent?
Potentially could have been. We didn't really talk about it beforehand, but I mean, paperwork-wise, it's not a whole heck of a lot different.
Right.
There isn't.
No, you had to have the plans either way.
But no, we probably, just for future, we probably would have considered this under an RDA. It is flood zone, all of it too, but septic upgrade.
Okay.
Kind of weird.
I should have made the phone call.
Sorry, John.
That's all right.
Well, the plans was part of the big part of it, and they were required either way.
They require, yeah.
Yeah,
And
notification
Amy's
to
right.
abutters and-
The paperwork is very similar to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a few pages longer, but
Right. Any conditions, Amy? I can't think of any.
not really, other than our kind of standard for site work conditions. And then abandonment, pumping, filling, abandonment of the old system. That's all gonna be Board of Health too.
Right.
So, I mean, it's mainly a Board of Health project.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent for replacing the original sewage system with a Title V septic system.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. None opposed, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great holiday, folks.
Thank
You too.
I have just something quick to pass out to you guys for our next couple. That was not in your packets, so. Give me a second here. Where did I put it? There it is. Please. Please. Give me a second here.
Sure.
So on one side, so this is Holly Tarleton of 134th Street. The front photo is photos from her property. The back is another 177 Forest that we'll be talking about later. So I'm just gonna pass this out. I went to the site today. I knocked on the door. Nobody answered.
You know, I was working around back, and I came around to see a town vehicle pull out, and I'm like, oh, but I missed you. so.
And I also, what I did is I made a copy of your current approved Holly had an RDA for renovation of the existing house, keeping the carport and the shed, but renovating. So she's here today to talk to you about closing in the carport a little bit. Or closing in the carport.
Okay, so, as Amy said, you have what I brought, which is my permit to rebuild in the existing footprint. And at the time, I asked to raise the carport height a little because, as it was, I could probably only fit like a Mini in there, and I have an SUV. So they granted me to do that. And so it's taken me about a year to do it because I'm doing it all myself. And just about done, as you can see from the pictures. And it sort of dawned on me once, I took some measurements once I was finished, and I talked to a garage door company, because it never even dawned on me that I would maybe even be able to fit a garage door there. And based on the height that I have, if I use what they call a low-profile track system or something, that I could actually fit a garage door. So my request is to, I'm not changing the footprint at all from where it is. I'm actually just requesting to put a wall on the back and side. Half of the left side actually is already walled from where the shed is, which you can see on the plans here. So I would just want to put a wall on this side, and this is, it's a little bit hard to tell from here, but there's a wall here, but an opening between the house and the carport that I would leave open as a pass-through to the door to get into the basement. And then on the front, where that picture is, I would just put a garage door on it. So I'm essentially still using it for its same purpose, to put my car in. I'm also a contractor, and so it would be very convenient for me if I could close it in and be able to have like my saws and stuff in there and be able to lock it up. I don't have any other, I mean, I have the shed, but that has like my hand tools and stuff like that in it. I considered at one point in the future requesting to build another shed across from my driveway where there's a big parcel of land, but I'd rather not do that if I don't have to, and if I can close this in, then I won't require any extra building on the property.
Well,
And it would kind of look nicer, in my opinion, but,
The commission conditioned this to stay a carport, and part of it is within the 50-foot no disturb. My concern is not now, but down the road, if you were to sell this house, and it's walled in, it can very easily then become finished space for the next person to.
except that it's not attached to the house. I mean, it's like you have to walk outside of it to get back inside. I'm not sure what picture you show. Oh, yeah. So this right here, this is all open, and the door to the house is behind this wall. So I would actually like put a door on this back wall to come out of the garage and then be outside and go back
Okay,
inside.
so it'd still be separate. The other thing we noticed when we were on site, and I didn't have tape with me, the existing shed that was there was about an 8x8. I don't know if this is just by, I mean, that's what I have on your plan.
It's a 10 by 9.6.
Okay, well, the plan might be slightly off then, that I have. Just want to make sure that what is there now as shed is in the exact same footprint. I didn't have a tape with me.
To be honest with you, I did not measure it. I had we had it all mapped out in the footprint that it was in when the guys did the footing, and then I just built on top of that.
Okay. Being in the 0 to 50, it's a big deal if it's bigger.
Okay. Okay. I don't,
And sorry, we just noticed this on site today, so that's why I didn't bring it to your attention.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that it is.
Do you have an as-built foundation plan yet for the house, including this? With the building department?
I have this,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
The existing carport is new construction?
Well, what is currently here, this was all a carport before. It was paved, I believe.
It was a blacktop,
Flat, right.
and then they,
With a port,
a-
normal port, like not just a tarp port type thing.
yeah, no,
but
it
like
it had an asphalt
had a
top
roof.
on it.
So I do think, I have, the existing carport as shown on this plan is what's out in the field. I'm just wondering a little bit about the shed.
Right.
And then we can, talking about walling a structure off when the back half of it's in the 0 to 50. She's here, primarily to pick your brains tonight. I recommended that Holly come to talk to you because this wasn't one that I could really give a clear, yes, you should apply for an amendment on this, or is it gonna be just a no, really, We can't say it's gonna be a yes or no, it's not a formal hearing, but you can get their sense.
Yes, we haven't seen an as-built on the last order of conditions, right?
Well, it was actually a request for determination of applicability.
Okay.
I have the file right here.
Okay.
Because all work was on the same exact footprint and it was a renovation, we did it under an RDA.
Yep.
That's what I came and got the
Right.
approval for.
Right,
I mean, I did
exactly.
come in front of Conservation.
Right, he's saying typically like the last couple projects, what you get is like an order of conditions with a laundry list of conditions.
Oh.
You didn't have, because yours was just a determination, yours didn't have that many conditions on it. Let me look real quick though.
So that's an important consideration, I guess, is it, is did the footprint change? And do we consider this new construction, the proposed?
Right.
And that's a pretty big question. I guess I'd like to hear from the commissioners to see how they feel. Any questions or thoughts, Stan?
Well, when I saw when I was out there today, and I saw, again, not being familiar with the RDA previously or anything, I wasn't sure what was there before, so I saw all the new cement, the footings. So I thought that was all new.
No, it actually had been all blacktopped.
Right.
And then, so the commission actually preferred that I take the blacktop off and put the
Concrete.
concrete
So
down.
knowing that, if that's the exact footprint, and there was a carport before, I understand, I guess my question is, if enclosing it is new construction
New structure,
or
right?
new structure, but yet it's within the footprint, I mean, I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the problem
It's
would
tricky, isn't
be in walling that off and making it a garage. A roof was there, some kind of walls were there, or just,
Good condition, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. The posts are there, but it's open. I mean,
But
the
just
front, yeah, the roof, yeah, there's a roof on it,
the
rubber
top.
roof, so it's all,
so there were no walls around it, the shed was there, though?
right.
We could condition, if she were to come back with a notice of intent, you could condition that it is to remain a garage in perpetuity, not to become
Anything else, yeah.
anything other than a garage, if you wanted to. And we look at the foundation footprint, so I go back and forth with it,
Because I'm thinking of what you were saying before, if somebody else bought the house after, even though there's an open area now, somebody could do something to close that off and make it an attached.
they should have to come to us, but.
Yeah.
most-
Well, the other,
sometimes
if this helps at all, is the place that I told you that is outside, it's got a deck above it, so rain comes down. So they would have to do a lot to make that a dry space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I'm somewhat leaning that why, being new at this, my press would say what would be the harm of enclosing that garage?
Thoughts, Paula?
No, I was just want to make sure that the structure where the tap paper is, the tie path.
That's the shed,
The
yep.
shed, is that the exact same footprint that the shed was originally, or is it?
No, it's the same footprint.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, the whole, we went along the whole asphalt that was there, and we mapped all that out, and that's exactly where the footing went.
Okay, because I noticed it was newly poured foundation.
Yes, because we took the asphalt up.
Asphalt out. I just want to
Put the
make sure
cement down.
that it's exactly the same footprint. That's it.
Holly, when was the house built?
Sorry?
When was the house built?
The original part, I believe, was built in '55, and then the addition, which is what, the half that this is attached to, was done in 1960.
Oh, okay.
Or any of our regs.
Yeah.
And then you've been working on it for the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I've been, yeah, I purchased it in September of 2015 and basically gutted the whole thing and been reworking it.
Yeah. I guess my preference would be that we have it filed as a notice of intent.
It would have to be.
Yeah, okay, good.
But before, even if you were going to even entertain that, I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I was.
She just wanted
a little
me to-
surprised at the amount of construction that looks like it's already taken place before we've had this discussion, too.
Well, because I have the approval to do that. What was done, what's there now, I have the
Right.
approval to do.
She does, under the RDA. But what I would recommend, what I would like to see concurrent with this filing is, I mean, if the foundation that's there is what's going to be, having a as-built that shows on the plan, so we could compare, just to make sure, would be great, because we are dealing with the 0 to 50.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that once more so I make sure I know.
A plan, a current, because this plan was what you submitted when,
So you just need another drawing with what the
what
footprint
is
is?
actually there.
Gotcha.
The existing conditions plan.
Okay,
Would be wonderful.
sure.
And you could submit that with the notice of intent that you'll be doing.
Okay.
To add to that, is there a way to confirm that that footprint is what was there before?
That's what I'm,
Would that allow you to do that?
the plan, I have plans for what was there before. Yep,
Okay. Same with the shed as well.
yep.
Well, this is what was there before, right?
Yes, and actually, she has an earlier, yes, that is what
What-
was there before.
Yeah,
Right,
so
that one.
we overlay on this what she's
And
done,
hopefully, and I'm hoping.
and everything should
I'll
match
hope it
up.
matches
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I have no other questions.
Better, my foundation guy's in big trouble.
Couple inches.
Yeah.
Be a couple inches isn't a big deal, but feet is.
And I would just add, I think that's a good approach, but I think in Stan's comment, I think is really good, but I would just say we would want to see that notice of intent and consider what's before us before we, make a decision, because, it is activity in the 0 to 50, and
Right.
we want to scrutinize that closely.
And with, foundation, everything would stay the same, you're not gonna,
No, no, no.
It's all
It's
there.
literally just adding plywood and siding.
all right, well, why don't
Any
you,
landscaping issues to think ahead for on that side of the house?
they've kept,
It's,
kept things pretty tight.
yeah, we
on
kept
the
everything away from, and the only thing that I'm doing that I'm still left to do, you probably saw the pile of stones, is I'm just gonna put some stone around for drainage and stuff, but that's it.
Gutters and dry wells?
There's no gutters because that, actually what's going on, I don't know if you saw it, but what's going on the top that I have approval for is a deck is going on top of it.
Still gonna be runoff though, right? Gotta go somewhere.
You can drip line it.
Well, yeah, I guess it would go down on the stones. I never thought about how to put the gutter once the railing
Yeah.
is up there.
Could do like,
Because
a stone trench just around the drip
But
line.
generally, with a flat roof, you have scuppers that take the runoff down into leaders and gutters, or downspouts, rather.
well, what I did was I pitched the roof down towards the shed, and then, because I have to have a floating base for the deck, because I don't want to screw into the rubber, and then that's what the stone around was going to be for the, but if you want me to,
I guess my question is, are we comfortable with that? Because that will be in the 50. Are we comfortable with that as opposed to having dry wells? I think it'll be a 50, won't it? Yeah, because it will.
Those are one of the details I think we would really look at. with
When we get the
plan.
NOI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
well, how is that,
Yeah, right.
how is that different from
What she had before.
what I have had before, anyway?
Well, we're looking to improve it. I mean, if it creates more retention of the runoff using dry wells than just having it go into stones, then I think the improvement would be a condition we'd want to add to this.
Yeah, I'm not too I didn't really give a good look and see what could be done out there, so it'd be something we can take a look at
Okay,
in planning for.
all
um,
right.
Did you say now it's leaking with every rainfall? The roof presently has water coming through?
No, what I was saying is this section that Amy was saying could, in the future, be closed in, there's a deck above that the water comes through in between what would be the garage and what's the house.
It's like a little breezeway type thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It basically just gives me, from that one picture where you see the plywood, it just gives me a walkway from there to the back of the house. It's just open there, and it has the deck above that, which is not part of the roof structure of the carport.
What's the status of the certificate of compliance for this project? Still
It's a
pending?
determination, so there's no
There
cert.
is no cert, that's
No,
right.
there will be with this, yeah.
With its, but not now. Okay. So we don't really, the decking on the wetland side, do we have any information on that, if it was constructed as proposed?
I didn't look at that when I went out there, but, I certainly can. I've been out there in the past, actually, after you did the project, or the deck on the north side, and I didn't see any issue back then, but I didn't look at it again today.
We're actually 4 inches shy of how far we could have gone.
There you go.
Just how the decking landed, I was either going to be over or short, and I went short.
We appreciate that.
That would be short.
that for guidance?
Sounds good. So I come
set
in
up an
and,
appointment with me. Your file is called a notice of intent. It's gonna be it's a little more lengthy than this, because you are going to a more formalized, and it's right in the 0 to 50 foot no disturb. So, you can pick up the paperwork. I mean, I can walk out and hand it to you, and you can start looking at it. A lot of it's not gonna apply to you,
okay.
but if you wanna give it a stab and contact me after the holiday, and I can help you, that's fine.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right?
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Okay, I'll grab that for you. I'm trying to get rid of it. I don't throw it away.
Almost ready for a snack. Are we doing something with 177 Forest Street tonight?
I believe so.
Yeah, something on the agenda.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
It's like 2 down from the correct one.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Did Amy make the calzone too?
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Wow.
That's the Italian part of it.
Very nice. I'm definitely try that out. I went to get some cod cakes, and the place where I went in New Bedford, they only sell them on Friday, and I was scolded for asking. I should have known it was only
No,
on
you
Friday.
could go Ring Brothers.
Yeah.
These are good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I bet. So I bought cookies, Portuguese cookies.
Oh, they have Portuguese bakery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah. Okay, next we have discussion on a fence at 14 Riverbend.
Okay. Come on up, Don. Would you like to introduce her, or would you
Yep.
like me to?
Okay, you go ahead.
No problem. I have no problem. So it came to the Conservation Department's attention that, so this is Mrs. Doyle, and came to our attention a couple of things, that what had previously been, a portion of which had previously been split rail fence, kind of along your northern property line, northeastern property line, and the neighborhood easement.
Split rail
Split rail and
and,
stockade as you went
Oh,
inland.
right.
Yep. Had become stockade ranging from 4 to 6 feet. And so I went out there. Actually, I sent my assistant Nikki first out there because I couldn't go out right at the time. She took some pictures and reported it, and I went back out to double check that it was in the same footprint as what had been there previously in terms of the split rail. And I've had photos, because I've worked with Mrs. Doyle in the past, so I had photographic evidence of what was there before. So the new fence is in the same footprint as the split rail, but it is a stockade that ranges from 4 to 6 feet, that does go all the way down to the ground.
right.
Part of that is within the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone to the top of bank salt marsh. So technically, I mean, we're here because it's a show cause hearing. Talk about, you know, what kind of happened there, and the commission to decide, do they view this really as a violation, and what do you want to do with the fence? And also we can talk about, because the shower did come up as well.
Right.
So I'll stop there, and I'll
Okay.
let you go.
Okay. Well, I do have pictures that were taken above that the contractor did when we did the renovation, so I have pictures of the fence and my neighbors that go up into Nantucket Sound that have 6-foot stockade fences that go all the way down to the water, I mean, right to the water. which I had looked at for 20 years. So, I mean, I've been thinking twice about bringing the fence down. The reason, we've been there 22 years, and had no grandchildren when we bought the house. Have 8 now that are outside playing. They're athletic, they're playing ball, they're doing everything. We have no privacy, absolutely no degree of privacy in that area, and you can tell by the pictures. And we're thinking about putting a pool in, as I have told you, Amy, before.
Yeah.
So I just went ahead and come down to the town. In August of 16, actually, I was down here, and asked if I needed a permit for the fence, and the lady said no. And she said, I said, well, I may get some pushback from some neighbors. And she said, we don't get involved in that stuff. Don't worry about it. If your house, put the fence in. A year later, I put it in. I put it in August. It went in last month. So it was a year from me coming up here.
Yeah.
Again, so I just ordered it from Pro Fence, and they came and put it up last month. Ba-boom. So, but I do have pics. I have pics on my, I don't have a printer, so, and I don't have a lawyer here either. I'm sort of by my onesies here, so forgive me. So any questions or
I did
comments?
print out pictures for
You
them.
did?
So they have them.
Oh, good.
As well.
I took one of the shower.
Yep.
I was there today, so I went inside and outside. When we did the renovation on what was the garage, which is now the boathouse, there was, I believe, there were hoses back there. We used to wash the dogs and stuff that roll in the mud. I put the fence around it.
Yep.
That was not there. I believe there was a spigot there, because I remember hoses being there that we used. So the plumber put the hoosie on it.
Yep.
And I went and bought the thing around it to contain our dogs. That's what we washed the dogs, and they would take off across the...
The marsh.
Right. So that's, I did take a picture of that because I was looking. It doesn't, I don't believe that the shower fence goes into the ground. I think it's lays on top, and I have a picture. I may be wrong, but I don't think the guy went down into the ground. You know what I mean? So I have
Yeah, I'd
pictures
have
of
to
that.
Look again, but.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I mean, taking that down, if that would be a, you know, that's what you guys want me to do, is, I have no issue with that. The kids don't want to go out there because they think it's scary. It's in the woods. There's bugs, so it's where we do the dogs at this point. So any questions? Be glad to answer.
That is in the 0 to 50, would be new.
Oh, the other thing is, if Mark, I got Mark Burgess to come down.
Right, I forgot, I was,
Yeah, and he is at Shorefront Consulting.
Yes.
And he came down, and there's a marker that and I can't remember the name of the marker, but it's on the area there's like a 10-foot easement between my neighbors and my house. Okay, and there's some sort of a marker there. And so I am a little over that, where I shouldn't be, which I have no problem taking that down either.
okay.
And there's, I guess, some question brought up about the wildlife.
Yes, I was going to address that
Oh.
in terms of, and just for the commissioners and people in the audience. So in our regulations, we talk about fences, and we talk about what's a structure and what's not a structure. And there was, granted, a split rail is a more substantial fence, but it is a fence. And our concern has nothing to do with aesthetics, just like the building department, when
Right.
you came up to talk to them, our concern is not aesthetics.
Right.
It's wildlife passage. So in my mind, this is a pre-existing fence. There was a fence there previously, and our concern should be the passage of wildlife. We recommend that there be at least 6 to 8 or 12 inches of clearance on the bottom of fences, which could be achieved by cutting
Right.
the bottom of this fence. So from the conservation perspective, that would make, in my mind, this fence in line with our regulations.
So just go from the bottom, you mean, and up? They cut it?
Exactly. I wouldn't raise it
Okay.
any higher I wouldn't pick it up,
Right.
but literally take a sawzall to the bottom and cut it. But that is my recommendation and my read of the regulations. I do see the shower enclosure, and I do see some posts that hit the ground on my photos. And plus whatever base is there, I do see that as a new structure.
Okay.
In the 0 to 50 that is not permitted, and would recommend that needs to be removed. Whether or not you can still have a
Right.
spigot there,
Yeah.
that's besides the point for now. But the structure of it in and of itself, I would recommend has to be removed.
So that goes down into it? Or is
It hits the ground.
is the
I mean,
problem that it just sits on the ground?
Any new structure,
Oh, okay,
any new structure,
got it.
okay?
So would I have Pro-Fence just come over and,
Well, it's up to them. I'm just giving my
Oh, got it.
recommendations. It's
Okay.
up to the commission. I'm just giving my recommendations to them.
Do you want to start, Ernie?
After the commissioners, the chair will open it.
Yeah, we visited the property today. I have no comments on the fence itself. I agree that the shower being in the 50 should be removed.
okay,
I concur.
okay.
Stan?
I concur with that, and I guess I was surprised. I took a ride over today, but the day before too, and when I first saw the fence, the existing fence, and then the addition, I was confused with, and I had known from talking to Amy in the past that there had been the split rail before.
Right,
So, but I saw that the existing fence had
Right,
been up to
right.
that point, so you just kind of made it consistent
right, right,
in the same footprint. So
Right.
I have no problem, but again, I agree with the issue on the shower should be removed.
no problem.
Just real quick, we do have a letter. It should be in your packets. If it's not, I have a couple extra copies, and it was emailed, I believe, too, from the BSC group, in regards specifically to the fence. So, and it addressed mostly wildlife habitat, or trespass issues, ability to pass.
Even though they can go around the marsh behind
Yeah,
the
right.
boathouse, so they have to have another,
But
Okay.
it's our, fence
Okay.
regulations there.
So I had a couple questions. So to be clear, was the pre-existing split rail fence?
No,
No.
that's the other
So
side of the
there's a split
easement.
rail right in the same footprint,
Yes.
and that's been removed.
Yep.
That's an easement area. That's the other side of, from where the split
Right.
stockade fence is.
But yes, it was very
This is
similar.
it's an association easement, this
that's
area
an
right
easement
here.
that belongs to,
The association?
no, a woman, we don't have an association. A
Okay.
woman that lives on,
Neighbor.
yeah, Riverside Drive, then it goes all the way down. I believe you can put a dock in there if she wants. That was my understanding.
Might be difficult, but yes.
Might be.
With all
That's
the
what I
other
heard.
regulations.
Rumor.
That's for another time.
That's for another time.
Do we know if that pre-existing split rail fence was approved by the commission at any point in time?
It's
I
been there
have to
since the
check. It's
50s.
Been,
50s?
yeah.
Yeah,
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in all the aerials that I can get going back to the 80s.
Yep. So I guess I'm concerned that Pro-Fence did not pull a permit on this.
She
They-
came in and asked.
I came in August.
I know, but
They
that's,
should, though.
Are they supposed to?
that's
Yes.
really not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's,
They should come and ask.
They should know that.
Oh,
That company should absolutely know that, so I am concerned about that.
Mhm.
And it's a different fence, it is the same footprint, but it is a different style fence, so,
yep.
it would need to have, I don't know if it would need to have a variance. I guess that'd be our choice whether.
That's kind of why she's here is direction as well.
Yeah,
Not just a show cause, but direction.
yeah. Yeah, we can't judge what the conversations that happened when we weren't here, so this comes
Right.
up quite a bit. I was told it was okay, but, the commission.
Well, I
can't-
was here. I came here.
I know.
I mean, I don't mean to Amy, I
You didn't
came.
speak to the commission, so we can't
Right.
judge that conversation.
Shouldn't that person have told me?
Well, I
Well,
can't, I
so-
can't judge that.
We've dealt with this a lot in the past few months, actually.
Mhm.
We have what's called community development up here. Before, we had individual departments. Yes, we all work together, but we kind of had our specialties, or our distinct disciplines. We're trying to cross-train everybody now. So somebody who works for the health department can come talk at the window and answer your common everyday questions about things like fences. And that is what we are trying to achieve right now. And I thought we were doing a pretty good job of it, and then all of a sudden, we've had 2 or 3 incidences now with fences in particular, where people said they've come and spoke to somebody at the counter, and they were told, no, they don't need permits. So I've actually had discussions with the staff, and I said, when somebody asks you a question like that, don't look at it just through the building department lens. You have to understand other departments regulate things like fences.
Right, right. Yeah, and I get that. The first lady told me to go to another window. I went to a second window, and that was the woman.
We still had windows. We only had one now.
Wherever it was. And that was the person that said, no. And
Yeah.
the other question I had is, that I have, is if the fence has been there since the 50s, what the regulations then weren't probably, you get a permit, right? It was, you just put up a fence
Put up a
whenever.
fence. Yeah, so as long as it's pre-existing, then it can be replaced.
But we're looking
So-
at it from, is a stockade more of a structure, by our definition, than a split rail?
So a structure is not a structure.
We have to determine whether what is there now.
Even with the
versus what was there.
stockade coming down halfway, that's always been there also.
I
And then the
understand.
split rail
I
comes.
understand.
yeah.
Right. If it was, for example, a new application, it wouldn't be approved. With no pre-existing structure or fence there, it would not be approved.
Right.
It would be, it would need a variance for that, so.
If nothing was there.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd like to hear from any members of the audience if they have comments.
My name is Greg Baldwin, and I'm the abutter. I'm at 11 Trinity Cove. I have pictures that I'd like to submit that I'll give to Amy. I've got, I think, 6 sets here.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to, you needn't be frightened, I'm not going to go through each one by one, but I do want to submit them to the record. But what I would like you to do, please,
Thank you.
is, first of all, go to picture number 7. They're all numbered at the bottom. This is the difference between the split rail fence and the stockade that has just been put in. This split rail fence is on my land, the one that you see there. Right. The stockade is on 14 Riverbend. That was originally exactly the same type of split rail fence. Right. Now, this fence is 72 feet long. It's 9 sections, 8 feet each. The first 3 sections, or 3 or 4 sections, are in the no disturb zone. Those are the sections that go right up to where the thing starts to rise. Right? The remainder, the entire remainder of this thing, is in the 100-foot buffer zone. Now, the new parts are everything that you see in white, plus these last 2 dark ones that you see at the end, where you can see white stripes in them, where there's new slats, those are new. Those 2 sections of the fence were not there. So what you've got is 72 feet all the way across. Right? Now, when you compare the stockade with the split rail, it's clear to my mind that it simply is not a replacement. And the reason I say that it's not a replacement is because I'm relying on the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. And in Section 1 of the Act, it basically says, and I'll paraphrase because it's like most laws, too many words in it, but basically it says, no person shall alter any coastal wetland other than in the course of maintaining, repairing, or replacing. So I agree that the fence can be replaced. The law says that. But it goes on to say, but not substantially changing, enlarging an existing or lawfully located structure. Well, if you just look at picture number 7, it obviously is a major substantial change, and it's greatly enlarged over what was there. It's gone from a 3-foot split rail fence to a 4 to 6 foot barrier. And that's exactly what it is. It's a barrier. And what I'd like you to do is take a look, if you would, at the picture number 2. Now, in picture number 2, this is the Riverbend property as it's marked. Right in here, right, This is the wetland area. These are habitats. This area here and this area here. This is all wetland in here. Okay. You can see the trace of the two fences, right? To the top right here is the stockade, the split rail fence that's still there. That's my fence. Below that, running parallel to it, but much longer, is the old split rail fence. Right? Now what has happened is by putting this stockade fence in, what has been created is essentially a solid wall going all the way across this area, blocking off the habitat and cutting off this wildlife corridor that you can see stretches for a good 500 or 600 feet. And it cuts it off right in the middle. Right? So that blocks off all of the rabbits and the foxes and, more importantly, the geese. And I say more importantly the geese because there's a direct impact on the geese by this fence. And if you look at photograph number 8, you can see it. Right? Instead of being able to go from property to property and flutter over or walk through the split rail fence, as they do, and the geese are all over this neighborhood. Right? They are now jammed in here. This is the corner of my yard, and they can't get through to what was left of the corridor. So this has a very direct impact on the wildlife. Now, raising the fence by 12 inches is not going to let the geese go through. The geese don't go under things like that. It's too dangerous. They'll go over or they'll walk around, but they're not going to go under. So this is a real problem for the wildlife. Now, in addition, this is not the kind of minor work that the DEP regulations permit. And I'm talking about 310 CMR 10.02, where it says minor work can be done within the 100-foot buffer zone. It doesn't address the 50-foot, of course, that's the towns. But minor work can be done in the 100-foot buffer zone. And fencing is considered to be minor work unless, and I'll quote, it says, fencing is minor work provided it will not constitute a barrier to wildlife movement. This constitutes a barrier to wildlife movement. And that's the concern. And it's not just foxes, it's also the geese and the rabbits and everything else. Because there's an enormous amount of wildlife in this entire area, throughout this section. Now, portions of this, about 23 feet of it, are in the no disturb zone. That should not happen. This is because this is not a replacement. But even taking that down, right, and opening up at least a portion of the corridor is simply not going to work for wildlife purposes, for conservation. And the reason is that it will leave a solid barrier coming across 3/4 of the corridor. And there will only be about a 10 to 12 foot space between the structure, going back to picture number 7. There's a structure right here. You can just see the side of it. If you take, and this is at an angle, if you take those 3 down, it's only going to leave about 10 to 12 feet. Wildlife is not going to try and pass through a narrow passage that used to be a completely open corridor. And the reason is because they cannot see behind the solid fence. And since they can't see behind the solid fence, they don't know if there's a predator lurking there. And they're not going to go through, and therefore wildlife is adversely impaired by cutting it off like that. Because they will not go through for fear that as they go through, they'll be attacked by a predator and won't have the opportunity to escape. Whereas with the open corridor, without the fence, with just the split rail, there's ease of passage and complete visibility for them that would protect the wildlife and allow the geese and everything else to pass through. Now, we also submitted, or I also submitted, I shouldn't say we, I also submitted a report from BSC Group, and it was an impact study. And it notes that it notes at the top of page 3 of the study, it notes exactly the same thing I just mentioned, that a portion of the corridor is not going to work because wildlife will not pass through because it cannot spot a predator. It can't defend itself. Right? They also point out repeatedly that the fence is and does have an adverse impact on the wildlife, as I think photograph 8 demonstrates. And they also suggest that the entire structure should not be allowed. And the reason, and this is their conclusion, they're recommending that the section in the no disturb zone be taken down. And they're recommending that the commission not allow the remainder of the fence, but open up the corridor again for the sake of the wildlife. And I think you all have that report in, is that right?
Yeah, they do.
That was already given out. And so that is my position as an abutter. I recognize I'm just a seasonal resident, but I've been a seasonal resident of 11 Trinity Cove since 1956. I've owned it since 1993. With God willing and the market stays high, I'll retire there in 2018, and then my sons will have it. So I'm concerned with the wildlife, and that's the reason why I've come up from Miami to address you about this, because I'm concerned. I think the fence has an extremely adverse impact on the wildlife of this area, which has just come back over the past few years. So thank you. And I think the other abutter at 5 Trinity Cove also wants to speak.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Fitzsimmons. I'm an attorney in West Yarmouth, and I represent Janice and Jim Gerard, who happened to be out in California at the time and unable to be here. But Mrs. Gerard had submitted a note earlier, actually almost a month and a half ago, or about a month ago, to the board. I think as far as the principal highlight, as Greg has expressed, is the traversion of fauna across the corridor. And in having the opportunity to view the property recently and monitor how the geese have become trapped in Greg's property, and it is a good description of becoming trapped, because they will come up the shore, they'll come up from the waterfront, they'll come up onto Greg's lawn, and then work their way southward toward the mouth of the river. And after traversing Greg's front lawn, they then ultimately end up prevented from moving any further than where the fence currently stands as a full stockade fence. And the difficulty of removing just the first, even just few sections, just within the 23-foot approximate 50-foot zone that the fence enters into, just removing even those only opens up the fence along the side of a pre-existing shed structure. And so what Greg has expressed as far as the limitation of the corridor, just by removing those within the 50-foot zone, doesn't alleviate the fauna traversion issue. But actually going back to the 6, 7, or 8-foot sections of split rail fence reopens that corridor so as to allow the geese and the fox and other fauna to make their way through down to the south and across other lawns in similar fashion. As far as the cure of simply cutting the lower end of the fence by 6 or 8 inches or 12 inches, although may work for some of the smallest turtles or rabbits or the like, the real substance of wildlife in that part of the river, one of the wonderful parts about it, is the larger fauna that do traverse, mainly Canadian geese, which have had a much larger population along the river in recent years, and together with that as well, fox, which are really common along the river. And so at this point, for the Gerards, what they looked at and being abutters to that 10-foot right-of-way or access to the river since 1948 in their family, they've recognized all that wildlife for the last 70 years and how this creates a substantial impact, not only just this fall in what's been observed, but what will likely be observed next summer during a summer season when there's even more activity along the waterfront. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and the Gerards appreciate it as well remotely. Thank you. Thank you.
I won't remember a word they said. Is it recorded?
Mark, if you, we already, the commission's already asked some questions, Donna, and I've described what's going on. So Mark is Donna's rep. He was over at Waterways. Sorry, we're getting towards the end of our agenda, so.
Well, thank you for waiting. Yeah, Mark Burgess with Shorefront Consulting, for the record. I'm not an attorney, but I'm just an environmental consultant. We work together with the regulations. That's what we do. The letter that the abutter wrote to the board addresses the fact that the fence has been there since the 50s. So the fence existed prior to any Wetlands Protection Act. The conversion of the fence from a split rail to a stockade, I'm not sure is in your regulations. However, be that as it may, it would have been nice if somebody was notified of the work before it occurred. But my understanding is that in order to allow for wildlife passage, the 6 or 8 inch minimum clearance you require, obviously the fence doesn't meet that. It needs to be brought up to that standard, and Ms. Doyle has no problem in doing that. Whether we raise the fence completely or just cut the bottom off, it's really your choice. But the fence, as it exists now, doesn't extend anymore. It's in the same footprint as the existing fence. We have pictures that show it. We all know it's been there. So in lieu of that, the conversion of the stockade, conversion to split rail to stockade, I don't know what to tell you there. It doesn't, I don't know that triggers a reg, but certainly it needs to be brought up to code for the wildlife passage underneath. And I know one of you mentioned geese, but geese fly, so they can get over a fence. But I understand foxes and things need to be able to look underneath and see if there's a predator there, and smaller animals can pass underneath. So with that, I know that Ms. Doyle is offering to bring the fence into compliance.
And just to fully bring you up to speed, we did talk about the shower. And while we have not voted on anything yet, I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, the shower would be considered a new structure in the 0 to 50 and most likely will have to be removed.
The entire thing, or just the...
That has not been decided about a spigot of some sort.
Okay, but that option was discussed, right? Potentially? Brought it up.
But the structure of the shower,
I understand.
in my professional opinion, is not allowed.
Yep. Yeah, the idea was...
Stand.
Okay, yeah, the idea, that was Donna's idea. I can't take credit for it. But the idea was that if there's additional structures there, fine, they need to be removed. But if they could just keep the spigot that's attached to the side of the shed, then at least they can rinse off there. It's not a shower,
Right.
It's a rinse station. So we'd throw that out there as a suggestion.
Let me follow up.
One thing what I just find kind of interesting. I remember calling the Board of Health a couple of years ago because of the geese everywhere, all over it. Right.
Yep.
And they said to me, you've got to make the environment hostile if you want to get rid of them. And I said, what does that mean?
Well, don't say that to this crowd.
No, well, that's what they told me. To get either lion urine and put it over the ice. No.
Yeah, people
Do you
use
have
all
dogs?
kinds
I
of
said,
things.
yeah.
Reduce lawn reduction. There's a lot of lawn in this area, so.
I have
said
to say,
dogs.
having been to the site today, there was a lot of evidence of geese on your side of the fence.
Yes, there is.
We were picking our way across.
Yes, so they got this somehow.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Anyway.
It's a minefield anyway you go.
Well,
So-
let me follow up with some questions or comments. I think that, our bylaws have specific language on this, and it says to receive a variance in the 0 to 50, there should be a clear benefit to the interest of the wetlands resource area. And so in this case, I don't really see that, and I think that if this came before us, we would have had that discussion. So I'm concerned about it because it didn't come to us, and you had a pretty knowledgeable vendor who did this work without pulling a permit.
Yeah.
So that concerns me. I wonder if we can discuss a compromise here. To me, I do view it as a change from the original footprint in the 0 to 50. So is it possible to have a different structure in the 0 to 50, or even have a vegetative footprint along with the previous fence was? That would achieve the privacy you're seeking,
Right.
the containment you're seeking, and then enhance the wildlife habitat at the same time.
A living fence, if you will.
Yes. I think once we get beyond 50, I don't think this commission would have had a problem with the fence,
Yeah.
given our regulations.
Mhm.
But I think at the 0 to 50, I think, and I might be just speaking for myself.
So I'm kind of being punished for what Profence did.
Well, I'm not, we're just talking right now. I'm just expressing how I feel about
Right.
the situation. I do think that there's a wildlife interest here, and I do think that if this came before us, we would have looked at that option as opposed to having that type of fence, so. And that's one commissioner here, my viewpoint,
Right,
that it is a
right.
departure from what was there before. So I'm just putting that on the table. Is that a possible compromise in the 0 to 50, to have like a living fence type of structure as opposed to what's there now?
Now, what's a living fence?
Well, it would be
Mr. Chairman, may I
vegetation,
comment?
bushes
Please.
and things like that.
Oh,
First of all, I'm not sure
See, he wants-
that I understand why
he doesn't want to
privacy,
use that.
privacy is an issue to the commission. Because really it's protection of the wildlife and protection of the area, the location, the environment itself. And none of the regulations and none of the laws take into consideration anybody's privacy.
Right, it's a good point.
I understand it's the concern of 14 Riverbend, but I don't think that it's a persuasive point here for this commission to consider. Second of all, if there is a living fence there, it's still going to have the same impact. The geese, when they come in and they start in grazing, or whatever the word is called for, walk around. They don't just see an object and fly over it. And most of the geese are coming onto the property through the wetland. And actually, if you look at, I think it's photograph number 2, you can actually see through the wetland the tracks that the geese make, because that's their approach, right? So they don't just fly in, they walk up. And when they walk up, right, this barrier is there now. That was never there before. And that's the problem, because a living fence will do exactly the same thing. It'll be exactly the same type of barrier and raise exactly the same types of problems and fear of predators and things of that nature for the wildlife. So the wildlife, I think, is the primary concern. And my suggestion is that the stockade is a barrier and an impediment to the wildlife. And it adversely affects the wildlife in that particular area, and that's a very sensitive area. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your comments, and I think my point on privacy wasn't so much to say that it was our purview, but I think it's in the interest of a compromise. I think we've heard different viewpoints here, and so that was my thought, is that it might achieve some benefits for both properties to go that route. I don't see us, having a problem with what's in the 52 and 100, given our regulations. But I agree that there's a wildlife corridor issue here, and there's also an issue on whether this would have been a variance or not. And I think we might be divided on that point in the commission. So that's why I'm proposing a compromise.
I think it's a good idea. Potentially could provide more habitat, because it is all pretty low right now, and provide better infiltration for nutrients, and improve water quality, as well as, well, there's a lot of other benefits for that native plants provide to the environment, so.
I have a question. We were talking, because you have the design here. Originally, we were talking, this whole section being on the footprint. How far does that come back from?
What do you mean?
The new fence, was that all within the
Yep.
buffer zone?
It's not all within the
0 to
buffer,
50?
no.
So some of it would not have been?
Well, it's all within jurisdiction, because it's all, the whole property is riverfront area.
Right.
Yes.
And the fence is in the
Pass
same
this around,
footprint.
but I need it back. I should have made this for your file.
The fence is in the same footprint that it always
Right.
was, it's just different.
Right.
And what about the neighbors going towards the sound? And they've got 6-foot fences going all the way to the water, stop right on the water.
It would depend when they came in, when those were installed back in the early 2000s was when, and certainly, we deal with violations, if you will, on a case-by-case basis. So whenever we you know, it was brought to our attention, we're vetting this.
If they wanted to rebuild the fence and came to them, then
Yeah.
they would say, hey, by the way, you need to do this, and they would
Right.
be required to do it then.
And back in the early 2000s is when the 50-foot no disturb came into play. It wasn't, other than that, the town was even with the state act about regulations in terms of what would be required. Certainly a new fence in the 0 to 50 is not permitted, but that's why I also brought this here to you, because there was something there before. And so would you have even considered this, would this even be necessary for a variance? Would a variance be necessary?
I saw that already. See, I take a very literal interpretation of our bylaw, and I think the language there makes it very difficult to put a new structure in the 0 to 50 or change the structure you have there. So to me, you know, I think if this came before us, I would not have favored the fences there now, and that's just myself. So there's a couple ways it could go. And are we obliged to vote tonight, or just give advice on the situation? Because it
You're
could be-
not, but we would have to continue it, because right now it would be still kept in limbo.
Right.
So, I mean, your options, I guess, would be, if you were not, if you were not inclined at all to let the stockade stay, either in its current form or cut at the bottom, without a variance, you could instruct Ms. Doyle to file a notice, an after-the-fact notice of intent, requesting the variance for that fence, if you thought it needed a variance. If you don't view that it needs a variance, so maybe the vote is, you know, that this project needs a variance or something like that. And then the other, you could say, okay, it needs to go back to split rail. The section in the 0 to 50 should go back to split rail or
How
something
far
like
does
that.
that go back?
We'll go through that. I have your
You said 20 feet?
plan.
23 feet.
I have your plan. So that's another option. Also, the living fence option was tossed out, but the only hesitation there is, I mean, there was a split rail there before, so whether you could make all of the fence split rail or not go away and be, or not all of it, but a portion of that go away. I don't know if you could.
So they
manage
don't
that.
count that the stockade was there? They don't consider that at all, that there was stockade there already?
No, that's what I'm saying,
Oh.
we would. I'm just saying, really, the new section
Oh, okay.
of split rail.
And what you're struggling with at the moment, or trying to decide what to do, is really what to do with that 23 feet that's,
Should it have been a variance, or would it not have been a variance?
yeah.
If I may point one thing out again, I don't mean to overstate it, I'm welcome. But the Massachusetts Act that I quoted to you before, that talks about replacement, applies to the full 100-foot buffer. It isn't limited just to the 50. And it says that replacement does not include enlarging or changing or substantially changing the existing structure that's being replaced. So the real issue here, I think, covers the full 100 feet. And under the Wetlands Protection Act, this technically, in any part of it, even the 50-foot no disturb zone, but also the additional 50 feet for the 100-foot buffer, that all is subject to Section 1 of the Wetlands Protection Act, which makes it clear that none of this is a replacement, because it's a substantial change and a major enlargement. So I think that the problem here covers the entire section, and taking down a couple sections is not going to comply with the Act, nor is it going to protect adequately the wildlife that exists there.
Again, I appreciate your comments. I think our language treats the 0 to 50 differently from the 52 and 100. Our bylaws, I believe, do. So I think the commission can make that separation on what the impacts might be in the two resource areas. So that's why I've suggested that. I think that we have allowed changes like that in the 50 to 100.
We look at footprint too, not
Right.
whether, yeah.
Yeah, if I may, I've been listening to all these conversations, and one of the things that I struggle with is it sounds to me like we're trying to define a distinction between a split rail fence and a stockade fence. You mentioned the bylaw or the regulation talking about major enlargements. I don't think they're talking about height. I think they're talking about footprint. So I don't think that's material. Changing the structure, a fence is a fence. I mean, we're not in a position here to say that a stockade fence is different than a shadow box fence, or different than a lattice fence, or different than a picket fence, or different than a stockade fence, or a split rail fence. I mean, we just can't do that. We can't get to that amount of detail. What our provisions provide for is if there is a fence in this area, this protected area, that it provide clearance for wildlife, and we've defined that as being a 6 to 8 foot cut space underneath the fence to allow those wildlife to transit that fence. Canadian geese aside, I mean, I don't think we even need to go there. I mean, I have my own opinions about Canadian geese, as I'm sure a lot of people in this room do. But I'm listening to all of the arguments. I think a lot of them are good. I'm not sure your motivation is primarily wildlife related. I think there might be some other issues here that are of concern to the neighbors that are not being mentioned, but...
Well, I haven't mentioned any. I've only mentioned the wildlife.
I understand that. I understand that, sir.
Strictly states that.
Yep. So we won't even, I mean, that's not an issue. Obviously, it's not been put on the table, which I appreciate, because that's not in our purview either. So, I mean, my position after listening to the discussion that's taken place is I don't see that we want to be in a position where we split hairs to try to define the kind of fence that's being created here. I don't think that there's
Anything new?
anything that's been mentioned that suggests that substituting a stockade for a split rail fence really violates any of the Wetland Protection Act provisions that have been cited. And I'm, at this point, just in favor of letting it stand as it is. And a living fence, Brett, I think it's a great idea from a wildlife perspective and everything else, but living fences tend to go up. And, I mean, that's probably going to be worse than having a stockade fence there for the neighbors. So it's one of those be careful what you ask for situations, too, because I don't think there would be any restrictions on putting in a living fence in that particular location if she elected to do that instead.
You're still in favor of the clearance underneath?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
You could even recommend a little higher, say a foot or something like that.
Amy, where can we find that specification for the 6 to 8 inches?
It's in our regulations.
Oh, it's in the regs.
Um,
I didn't see it.
Let me see if I have the regs. I'll find it for you if you want to keep going.
Excuse me, Brad, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When we were talking about the 50-foot,
Yep.
we're saying, even though they were within the footprint of what was there before, if they had come before us, we might have asked them at least be outside the 50-foot?
No, the fence could be replaced in the footprint, but we could certainly interpret that it should be replaced in kind.
Right.
And that's very common with what we've done for a long time.
So, a thought I'm looking at, we're really talking maybe 3 sections here of the 4-foot
The
line.
4-foot one, yeah.
Roughly in this picture.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's my feeling is that,
So, I'm just throwing out ideas really, or thoughts or whatever. So that could be taken out and replaced with stockade again, I mean,
Split rail.
split rail,
All the thing.
and the remaining left alone with the clearance cut out.
that would be consistent with what we've ruled in the past for these types of projects.
Have we?
Yeah. You're allowing different structures than 0 to 50?
Well, is this a structure? It's a fence.
It's a
A fence is a
structure.
fence.
It's a structure.
I don't make that distinction between a
Yeah.
split rail and any other kind of fence, though, Brad.
It's a structure, though. I mean, do you really think the
What if it
fence
was
is
a
not
chain link fence?
It'd be a structure. And the 0 to, it's a no disturb zone.
But it's grandfathered. I mean, it's
True.
replacing an existing fence.
Right, with a different structure. So I think we don't have agreement here, so I think it would come before us and we
Yeah.
decide whether it got a variance or not. And I do think we've been consistent for a long time like that. And Ernie, how do you feel about the fact that this did not pull a permit?
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, that's always been a bone of contention with me. That's, yeah, we've dealt with that on many issues.
Well, I wonder if we should just ask that they file after the fact. It seems like we have a few different opinions here. And then we can have something to vote on. Right now, it seems like we should be voting on enforcement action or not.
Well, we can, I feel at this point, we can at least deal with the shower. And get that done tonight. How do you feel about that? I think we're all on the same
Yes.
page on the
Yeah.
shower.
Yeah.
So we can at least clear that up. And then it would be an after-the-fact filing of it for the fence.
Now, what would that mean? I'm sorry.
Okay, so that would be an after-the-fact notice of intent, right? So what we're, in the interest of time, not to waste the board's time and all of the other resources available, I'm talking myself out of a job here, but what the applicant is willing to do is take those last 3 sections, convert them back to a split rail. Everything else stands as it is, but make the entire fence that's there, that's 6 feet, including the older sections, and provide the specified clearance underneath. We would offer that, say we walk away, we do that, Amy can inspect it, life is good and everybody's happy. Most everybody's happy.
And were you putting a split rail fence back where the 3 sections?
In the 0 to 50.
The lower sections,
Right. In the
where it goes
pictures,
down like that.
if you have pictures of it, you've got the newer fence and then there's a transition
Right, yeah.
area. The 3 sections after that is per se 24 feet if they're 8-foot sections, and that would be your 23 feet plus or minus. So those 3 sections could be returned to a split rail. It gives you wildlife passage, or it returns it back to the structure it was, and then we just have to talk about the shower, I guess, and, but,
How do we do that procedurally? I think it's a
You
good
could make,
position.
it would be an enforcement order. It would be an enforcement order to return the section of fence that's in the 0 to 50 back to a split rail. And under the rest of the fence, outside of the 50, create the 8 inches of opening and to remove the physical structure of the outdoor shower. It would be an enforcement order to be done by a certain date.
Now, you might want to clarify, because you're saying around the old sections fence, you're not talking around, are you talking around the whole house or that north side of the?
Oh, yeah, just on that,
just
yeah.
that section.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
clarifying.
Section that we're talking about, but
Right.
even the old section that's there, I think that
I
goes mostly to the ground.
understand what you're saying, that's what I'm saying, but
That, but-
there's old sections going around the whole house.
Right,
You're not
yeah.
talking about
Right.
that,
You're
you're
just
talking
talking
Trying to
that
find
side.
the picture.
side.
Yeah, just the
And
one we're
that
talking about.
That would
So
include
how-
sections that are outside the 100 too, Mark, then I assume. Is that
It's
what you're
probably-
proposing?
It's probably close, but the line of fence that we've been
That's my
talking about,
plan.
where that goes
Right
back
here.
and tees off, that whole
Yeah.
line, we could, what the applicant's offering is to zip the underside
I'll
of it
make a copy
to
and send
provide
it to
that
them.
6 to 8 inch clearance. So you're gonna have more than you had before.
No, I agree.
Let me just ask this question so
Yeah.
that,
And we
so
can clarify
those are
that.
gone.
Yeah.
We put
Right.
the split rail back. then how far back does the hole
Here,
go?
here.
All the
Mark.
way, this, whatever this section of fence is back to.
Even the old section?
Yeah, my opinion, you should do that, because it's what's supposed to be there, but,
It is?
yeah. So you have-
Here's your site plan. I'll make you a copy and email
Okay.
it to you. You can see exactly where buffer zones are there. I think that's an excellent compromise, and I think it's in line with our 0 to 50 foot no disturb zone, putting back, well, at least what's in the 0 to 50 back to that. And I'm good with that.
Okay.
So we would have to go
Still
up
try
right
and
back
find that
there.
section about the fence, because I know it's in here, but I know it's in a weird place, too.
Yeah, I looked, I didn't see
And then I
it.
can
Oh, I know
plant
it's
things
here.
there and cover that hole?
No.
Just
Like
now.
hydrangeas
How
and
about-
things
I
like
have a
that?
question
By the
on that
stockade?
now.
Yeah, in front of the
I
fence.
agree, we're
I'd
gonna
ask them to be
remove
sure,
the
but you generally plants
you
are
know, the
fine.
shower stall, but if there had, and probably the shower itself on the building, but if there had been a faucet outside the building
With pretty,
previous.
a spigot
Well,
thing
I
that
would
we'd
say just let
screw a
them-
hose
Let
into.
them keep the top.
Okay, so we're not, that's what I'm
Remove
saying.
the structure around
Remove
it.
the structure.
Yeah, take the fence around
No,
it
no,
down.
that I agree with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, are we asking them to remove the faucet itself?
Oh,
The
No,
shower
I-
head?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to clarify.
okay.
And it's a recent construction, the shower? It's,
The fence around it,
Couple of years.
07,
yeah.
08?
More than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Is there going to be an issue with me planting hydrangeas or anything in front of the fence?
As far as plantings, just come chat with me. I mean, we do prefer especially in the 0 to 50. Native is pretty much required.
Hydrangea not native?
Hydrangea is more of an ornamental, but we have a whole list of nice natives that we can go over.
Yep.
I can give it to
I
you.
think I have, I think I've got a list of that, yeah.
And
So-
she had great advice on that. It looked fantastic.
I'm a plant person.
So to sum up, what we're talking about is an enforcement order that requires the first three sections, 23 feet plus or minus of the 4-foot stockade to be returned to split rail, and then the remaining length of that fence back west, to provide 6 to 8 inches of clearance underneath.
Yes.
And
know
then the
what-
removal of any of the
I
structures
was going to ask this.
Around the shower.
around the shower.
They're gonna do the whole
addition-
side of that property.
That is in addition
6
to
to 8,
the
what is it? I
shed.
mean, don't we have to
It
be
does actually
specific?
say
Any-
6 to
any,
8. I would
Any
say.
enclosure and a deck, any like a deck, for lack of a better word, underneath and all that,
Shower,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
When they make the cut underneath, you know how there's the boards that go across to
Yeah.
keep a fence in? How much is it, 6 or 8 inches, is it going to go above that thing?
No,
No.
I
It looks like,
eyeballing it, the bottom cross piece is over 6 inches.
Because I think if they have to get into that piece, then the whole thing will fall apart.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't do that.
Oh, all right.
It
You
would,
could also
You
pick,
could also
you could
pull 'em
also
out of
pick
the-
the fence up.
you can pull it out of the ground a little bit, a couple of inches wouldn't hurt
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
And I think the older fence has maybe a couple of inches already, I don't think it's slammed right down
It's
to the
not
ground.
as low as the other one,
No,
no.
the new one was put right to the ground, but the
Oh,
old one,
okay.
so you should be fine.
Yeah, if it cannot be accomplished by cutting, if you need another inch or two, they can literally lift it. And it's not that big of a deal.
Okay,
They can do it. And they were just anyway, they can lift it, it's fine.
okay.
Are you comfortable with that? So it would be an enforcement order for those 3 things.
right.
Do you want to, if you're comfortable with that, we should talk about a timeline for having this done? Usually we give,
Do it this time of year.
you can,
It's a spring thing, I would think.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a spring,
A lot of thaws these years.
Huh?
A lot of thaws in recent
Yeah.
years.
Typically you like to put a timeline, we usually give a month for type of enforcement, things like this, but we
60
could,
days.
we could manage, we can look at the weather, or if we have a hard freeze, it's hard to do.
Yeah, you can't move those fence posts.
No. So, that's the purview of the commission,
I mean,
to
I'm
give a
com-
timeline for
I'm
this.
Comfortable, if you moved it into the end of March or something like that, I'd. be
April
fine with
1st?
that.
Mhm.
April 1st would be fine.
Sounds good to me, too. I think it's a very good compromise.
Thank you.
And I think it fits into, our regulations and our, application of regulations, but I would encourage you to have discussions with your neighbors
Fence
as well.
guy? Oh,
You know, just
I thought you
to-
meant the fence guy. You should talk to him, too.
Yes.
You should.
I imagine you should
Most
do this change.
definitely.
with
I don't think the
both.
neighbors are going to want to talk to me.
Well, there may be something that could be done beyond what this board is suggesting, so that's why I just encourage that.
Does an enforcement order have to be recorded?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't believe, don't quote me on that. I will check into it for you and get back.
That's
We do
another half an
send-
hour I
we-
can't do.
We, not right now. We send it to DEP.
Yeah,
I don't believe you have to record it, but I will check that.
okay.
Will a copy be issued to everybody?
If you would like one, I'm happy to email you one. I have your email. And to the Gerards, I'm assuming too, would probably want one. And if you want to leave me your card, you can.
Do we need a motion to solidify that, or is it?
A motion to issue an enforcement order for stockade, or split rail back in the 0 to 50. 6 to 8 inches of clearance, you can specify 8 if you want, on the fence on that side. And removal of the structure of the outdoor shower by April 1st, all by April 1st.
I'll try making that. You just remind me, Amy. I'll make a motion to issue an enforcement order to remove the sections of stockade fence within the
0 to 50.
0 to 50 area, replace that with split rail fence. The remaining stockade fence be trimmed at the bottom by up to 6 to 8 inches.
Yep.
Again, thinking of the rail there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is remove the outside shower structure
By April 1st.
by April 1st
All of this by April
of 2018.
Yep, good job.
Seconded?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be in touch.
Yes,
Okay?
thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Happy New
Shows
Year.
how much boxes respect fences. He came and sat on the
Greatly
chairs.
appreciated.
Did he really? Isn't he adorable? No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right. Neither do dogs, because we used to have.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate your conscientiousness and your willingness to listen to us. I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Same to you.
too.
Amy, I can take two, right?
Take whatever you like.
There we go.
Please, please take them.
All right, thank you.
I saw your eyes light up when I
That's a good
I saw your eyes light up when I
Yes, it
suggested
is.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those three sections.
All right, Steve, so sorry. We took it in order that it came.
Well, no, I saw Brad's concerns too, so.
We appreciate your patience, Steve. Careful, it's all,
Did nice pictures of.
Yeah. I went to some expense, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. 3 of them.
So,
It's kind of remarkable, actually, to go for that.
Merry
Yes,
Christmas.
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Well, he did his homework. but-
thanks, a little
but it
different
was-
from last week when I
you know,
saw you,
I-
huh?
His motivation was
Yeah,
different.
A lot of people.
Careful not to state.
Yeah,
was
well, I
very
appreciate
good
that.
about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that
Yeah,
that was
I had to do
case.
something.
I always get
Can never
a little
stand still.
jaundiced when people come in and they're not honest with us.
Exactly.
So I'm
It happens a
passing,
lot. Yep.
This one.
I'm passing, this is Mr. Zafran, 177 Forest. Steve, what I did is I made copies both of what you were approved for and your current existing conditions plan.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
could, I have, so this is what was approved, I'm passing out to you now. And then this is what is there. And there's a little area where you see that the 50, that is a retaining wall.
Okay, I think I have this. It looks.
I got a small one. I
You
think,
have
out.
the existing ones already. You don't have the
You don't have this one?
approved one.
Okay,
You should have the existing.
all right. We go, whoops.
Yeah, you'll notice in one of them, the addition,
Like
or
a
the
little
renovation off the 50 and.
Oh, wait a minute. I think,
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah, so this is like this.
So which is,
okay, so we're only getting half of it?
Yeah,
That's what's there now.
yep. This is what was approved.
Initially.
This is what we
That's
got.
what's there now.
Right.
Okay, and that's
Oh,
a picture
okay.
of this
This,
wall right.
Yeah, is that, so
This
that
wall.
wall, yeah.
so does
Gotcha.
anybody need any of these?
Okay.
Good?
And also the
Is that the other,
photo,
is that the other half?
well, that's,
It's just-
it's not necessarily a half, it's,
So Paula,
Is it an overlay?
This is the original. This is the new.
Okay, okay.
and this
and
is
this is the picture of
picture
I've got
that new.
Yep.
picture that you have on the back.
Of the
Yeah.
retaining wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, of the wall and the brick foundation. So, take it away, Steve.
I'm here today to look for, not approval, but I'm gonna have to review my narrative and that kind of thing. What happened was, human error. You know, I thought it was going out 6 feet, and when I told the person who I have doing the foundation, it's gonna go another 6 feet over, I did not realize he interpreted it as, okay, we'll go out to 6 feet, which is just moving the structure on both sides over, so I had the same footprint, if you will. But then he interpreted that as another 6 feet.
Additional 6 feet.
And I did not realize that, and until I was doing an update on the site plan to bring it up to current as is right now. And the guy, Clark Engineering, said, you know, you've got a major problem here in that it is 6 feet beyond the
50
initial
foot.
request. And that meant my retaining wall here, which is into the 50-foot. And I did not realize until last week when they had it resurveyed. And the retaining wall really is, the old cesspool that's just a little to the right up above. And it was basically for stability when I was doing the removal of the cesspool, which is gone. And also that retaining wall allowed me, I think if you look at your picture, the door to my, just to the left, that's
On the
gonna be
back
the
of this
door
one.
to the cellar. And it was gonna, the soil would come down in, you know, in front of the door. So
Right.
that's why I had the retaining wall. And it doesn't go up the full amount, as you can see. And that's it. I mean, it was human error. I did not do it on purpose. I'm not even gonna live in the building.
Yep.
And what I'm looking for is, I have, as you
What
can
do we
see, the foundation is in, the walls of the foundation are up, and maybe that shows or not, but the steel going across is already in place. So I'm looking for support of leaving everything as is and doing whatever I need to do to leave the structure as is.
It's
Right.
just really it's really interesting because, I mean, a builder should have building plan, did they have building plans on site? I mean, it's way off.
It is.
It's way bigger than it was
It
supposed to
is.
be.
It
Not
is.
just, and also connecting to where the barn is, that is twice as wide, almost.
Well, that, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's, you know, people are off by a few inches commonly, but being off by 6 feet. And, I mean, the building in and of itself doesn't extend to the 50 right up to it, but that wall does.
The
So,
retaining wall, yes.
right,
Does
this
it
is,
extend beyond? Is it,
the retaining wall?
yeah, is it clear?
It's in
It
it,
does extend within, yes.
6 feet in,
The structure,
at least,
yeah.
right.
The building does not.
And it's a slope right there, so I mean, you could see where
It's
the
a real
retaining
steep
wall
slope.
is. It's not a terrible idea to have it there, but the building shouldn't have been as close to the 50. And you
In the
could
first
have, you
place.
could have put the retaining wall in the 50 to 100, part of the retaining wall in the 50 to
And
100
that's where I
too.
thought it was.
Right, so, I This is, and I don't know, I've met your builder, I don't remember his name, but this is, I mean, obviously as owner, it is your issue, but I have a real problem with the builder on this one, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, it's your issue because you're the owner,
Yeah.
but this is, I mean, if the
It
builder
is,
was given a set of house plans and he built it,
He was a foundation. He was given the foundation.
if he was given the foundation plan, this is
He built to the
a
foundation.
big deal.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't get to the site today. Everyone else did?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did hear the door close before you drove out.
sorry.
I thought I heard the door close as you were coming in.
Is the
I
50
went down.
fully undeveloped?
Huh?
I know that the pond
The
is...
0 to 50, this is a property where, if you recall, there was a lot of invasives,
Yep.
and there was a lot of debris in the 50-foot that Steve has been working on to get out.
Yeah.
And there's been progress made, there still needs to be progress, but there has been progress made. And I've given him permission for removal of a lot of the invasives on the property too, because they're literally strangling the trees. So the 0 to 50 is not pristine, but it is a lot better than it was.
It eventually leads right to Grassy Pond, right?
It does, and he
Yeah.
does have a vegetative, he has a mitigation planting plan that he has to comply with,
Yep.
as well, when, this nears more completion and he can get into
Yeah,
the
it
site.
goes right down the pond, and in fact, my property extends into
Down
the pond.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Is there a path or anything, or is it just, brush? Most of that border is just thick
Thick.
brush.
Most of it is brush. I've been
Yeah,
getting the invasives out. Amy has, and that's the majority of the growth is the invasives.
yep.
And she has sent me a 5-page approval of the planting.
Yes.
And I also have the mitigation here on the right. I know I'll have to increase the mitigation because of the square footage increase in here, but that's where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so Steve brought this to my attention last week when he found out about it. He came in and told me right away. So it's just an opportunity to chat with you folks now. I mean,
I've stopped all work. You know,
I know.
it's,
appreciate that. I said that to you.
I'm not trying to get away with any of them. As
Nope.
soon as I found out, I came here
I know,
and
I know.
So the building footprint is quite a bit larger, not just that it extended into the resource area or to the, it's just a larger building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is by 6 feet on that whole
This
edge,
is-
all the way down.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be, well, it's a building, period.
that's
I'm not gonna heat it, but it's
That's
still
right here.
a building.
Right.
Like I said, the foundation is in, it's ready for the first floor, but
I know. I mean, if you were in the 0 to 50 with your actual house, that would, we've had very severe,
I was sweating it
we were very
because,
severe, I mean, this might be a
Yeah.
case where it's so close, I don't know if the commission wants to have that reevaluated, by a third party. It's just interesting, that's right on the corner.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from everybody, because I need to go there before I can say much. I haven't been to this site.
Fine, this is just an opening of the
Yeah,
discussion.
so I
Yeah.
definitely want
Yeah.
to come by in the next few weeks, take a look at
let
it.
me know when and I can actually walk around with you.
Sure. Okay.
I'll give you each other's, I'll give
Okay.
Brad your email.
Any thoughts from other commissioners?
This gets us back to our new structures in the 50. This is definitely a new structure. I don't contest that at all. There was no fence there to begin with, so. And we've had a very hard line on it. I mean, does it, we have the exception for hardships. This does, I think, improve the landscape there because it does sort of cut the swale where you probably have less runoff coming around the building, given that it's now so close to the 50.
What used to be there was a wall, but it was going to the pond, and that's where they put all their garbage, all the trash. I mean, when I went in there, there's, broken bottles. Look, there's a lot of old cold cinders. I mean, that's what they were stood on. There was a wall there, but it was not formal like this. You know what I mean? It was, and it went north-south.
Yeah, so I'm torn on this one, I really am. You know, if we stick with our hard line on the new structures, then it's gotta come out. But if we look at it from the perspective of whether it's really harming this area, I don't feel it is. So.
I also
I'm
think,
working hard that it's not.
yeah,
I really appreciate there's enough on the other side in terms of lawn. I'd rather have minimal lawn. The gardens were there before. They'll be going back there. I mean, there's 2 piles that are topsoil, what do you call it, that I'm gonna put back on.
yeah.
I mean, I've been very careful with the whole thing.
I mean, stabilization of that slope, it's a slope, but it's not major. You could have done, that could have been done with grading and seeding and planting.
Oh, no question. Yeah, I
And
agree.
you don't necessarily need the wall
Yeah.
for
Right.
erosion control there, because plants do, grasses
Yep.
do a darn good job. So, especially the wall in the 0 to 50, I'm not a structural engineer, so I don't know if it's doing anything to support the brick wall there, but it's,
The brick on top is just the extra brick, it's not part of
wasn't
the wall.
necessary. No, I mean the,
Oh,
I don't know
the
if the
actual-
I don't know if this new cement wall is doing anything to support
Oh,
your
because the other
brick
side is so narrow.
in any way,
Yeah,
but, in general, I mean, that wall for slope stabilization, it's not a huge change between top to bottom. That could be done with grading and some
Yeah.
planting.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Was there also a work limit violation here?
No.
'Cause I know
Not
we
that
I know we discussed that when this was being permitted.
Actually, there was, because the limit of work should have been at the 50, and there's a wall now in the 0 to 50.
We talked about that quite a bit when this was being permitted.
It was supposed to be right at, the work limit was supposed to be right at the
Right at
50,
the
and he
50,
went into
yes.
it.
Yeah, and we pulled that building back a little
Yeah,
bit.
if I pulled it back, everything would have been fine.
yeah.
It would have been exactly.
I know you've said this already, but the brick wall is out of the 50? And yes, and the concrete.
This
That
corner.
brick corner,
Is at the 50, right there.
Yeah.
This
that
is in
is
it.
and if you go the other
Yeah.
way.
North,
then-
that's farther away.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then
Actually,
you-
a foot of that, I didn't put brick on it, so it looks like it's part of the retaining wall, and it's part of the foundation. See over here, it's a foot over, so the first foot of the concrete is the house foundation.
Oh, I see what you're
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
Because in planning it, that brick should have gone all the way over another foot.
So the brick
Yes.
wall is reinforced concrete, though, and that you put a brick facing on?
Yes.
Okay.
Because part of the application was to like for like. So being historic and everything else, the brick was above grade. So even though I put in the concrete, I did commit to doing brick on the outside that was above grade. Because I'm historically minded.
And I'm confused, what is this, what was this supposed to be originally?
Oh, on the right-hand side was the cesspool. And when we took it out, just to make it cleaner, I put in the retaining wall. I'm not explaining it very well, but it was not just for that. And it's this part here, right here, a foot in. That is part of that's still within the 50 foot.
Okay, yep.
I mean, it
Okay.
looks like the wall, but it really is not.
Okay.
Do folks want to ask Amy to catalog the deviations from the order and then offer mitigation responses to those?
I can do that.
Is that a good approach? I just, and then
It
come
would be a
back,
minimum 3 to 1
come back and evaluate that.
requirement, if not more.
I'm not
This
sure I
is a
have
serious-
enough.
Well, no, you do.
Well, I'll look closely at that 50 zone and just see what could be done there, and just,
Yeah.
it's a site I need to look at. And I'm not sure right now where we are. I don't know if this is
Right, I
a
mean-
fine situation. I don't know if this is,
There has been no fine yet.
yeah. If it's
If
a-
you want to issue one, you need to do it soon.
Is there some period in which
15 days from the date of notice, and that was last week.
you can't issue a fine after that? You can.
You're not supposed to.
Really?
15 days from the date it is noted.
Wow.
I mean, technically, you're noted today, but I was noted
Yeah.
a week ago.
Last Monday, I think it was,
Yeah.
as soon as I found out.
I know.
But I guess I depend on your opinion, Amy, on the scope of this, the magnitude of this, because I haven't been there. So I don't like the fact that the building footprint deviated so much from the plans. That really concerns me. And then the piece sticking into the 0 to 50,
I mean, I think
those two things.
the reason I didn't issue a fine, well, one, I had to wrap my head around it too.
Right, yeah.
But also because I knew we would be having a meeting before 15 days was up. In my mind, I mean, it's not cutting down a few trees. This is a big violation. And I think fines are
And
warranted.
I had no trees cut down. It was,
No, what I'm saying is we fine people for a couple of trees being cut down.
Oh.
You built a bigger
it's a bigger structure.
portion, a bigger structure.
It is.
Without permits, and part of it in the 0 to 50, which is a big deal. We have a court case right now where we're asking somebody to remove what they illegally built in the 0 to 50. So I would, in this case, I would fine the builder as well. $300 for what's in the 50 to 100, and $300 for what's in the 0 to 50.
And then we can evaluate mitigation responses and/or removal, maybe once you give us your analysis. That's not.
That's fine.
That's not limited by a time factor.
No.
I can get out there, take a look at it, and just think about what a meaningful mitigation might be. I guess we'll have a chance to talk about how people feel.
Well, I'm leaving early tomorrow morning, but I'll be back next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
And,
Can I get your number and give you?
Oh,
a-
maybe
I'll
since you-
share email.
All right.
Yeah.
And that way,
Yeah, sometime after Christmas, I'd like to get out there and take a look at it.
Sure.
I don't know what to say about the potential for pulling it out, if that's a good idea or not.
I mean, structurally, it makes no difference. Leave it or take it out. Would
this
have no
retaining wall.
impact
Oh, the
from a
retaining wall?
structural perspective.
No, it's not a structural thing because that was, you wouldn't see all of that concrete taken out because it's like this much of it is part of the wall coming this way.
Right.
And that should have been brick part, you know,
Okay.
but I messed up.
So I'm gonna put you back on for January 3rd.
Third.
I'm not trying to be mean or anything here, but what is the commission?
No, as soon as
We
I
have to
saw
stay
it, I realized I was
consistent.
having a hard time.
I know, I have to stay consistent with what we've done for other people. What would you like to do in terms of fines?
And listening for the last 3 hours, I'm going down.
Well, we've had a tough time of it lately.
Yeah,
Certainly have.
There's a lot of things skirting around.
Yeah.
I think 300 would be appropriate for the structure in the 0 to 50, and then 300 would be appropriate for the change in plants in the 50 to 100, and the work limit exceedance.
Yep.
That's my feeling.
To Mr. Safran only, or to both?
It's saffron, but
Oh,
that's okay.
I'm sorry, everyone here says it.
No,
I'm so
I know, and
sorry.
that's fine.
I will correct them.
They do.
Because I used to call you Saffron, and
Yes, and
I
that was
did.
good.
I'm so sorry,
Well,
Steve.
people try to pronounce every syllable, And so you have to throw in a couple
People
extra
get
ones.
mine wrong all the time, too.
I-
I'm sorry, I didn't do
No,
it
that's fine.
intentionally.
Any thoughts, others on that?
I'm almost leaning to just finding the guy that did the work.
Yeah.
That's your purview.
Now, is it the builder or the person that set the foundation?
It's the person who designed the foundation. The builder just went to the foundation.
Okay, so it's really not the builder, it's the
And
foundation.
no, not really, because I told them, I said, I'm coming here tonight and there's problems.
I'm sorry, it was the builder, the concrete guy?
No.
There's different, okay, so it's the
I'm sorry,
foundation guy.
yes, the builder is the
foundation.
concrete guy, but it's not the designer.
Okay,
Of
so
the
your architect basically screwed it out.
Yeah, he misinterpreted what I told him.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, I like to think I'm clear. I understood.
That gets tougher then. How do you find architects?
So was it?
It might be a thing where he negotiates with his people to pick up his fine.
Yeah.
The responsibility really lies with the property owner.
Right,
If we
right,
have
that's
a-
something that you can address with your people.
If it is my responsibility, then the fine is mine.
Well, I mean, you can take it up with
Well,
your, you
if-
Oh, I'll
can
take
take
it.
it up with
Take it up with them.
your contractors.
If we have someone cutting trees and it's a tree person, sometimes it's just clear that that person should be fined. But often, in these cases, it's hard to say, so I
Right.
should go with the property owner.
Okay, whatever your purview.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
So it's just me who is getting the fine.
Yep.
But you can.
300 for the.
Well, hold on, we haven't voted yet. Sorry, Steve.
Fair enough.
Any other thoughts on that? I don't have a great sense right now of the level of blame for the contractors, so I don't know which,
I don't think the contractor is to blame.
the designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, well, he updated the plan, but this is it. Right here. This is the foundation, and it shows exactly what the contractor built.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's a little clearer.
Yeah.
And I did not realize it was out as far
Not
as it was.
what we approved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even all I wanted to do was move it out.
Right,
Same footprint,
yeah. Yeah,
because of, you're just asking for more
yeah,
problems.
I mean, you can definitely take it up with your architect.
What are your thoughts, Amy? Because you've been around this more than I have. Equal fines for both parties or split the fines?
I wouldn't split them.
Yeah.
I would either solely fine Mr. Saffron, or, and he could take it and he could approach his architect and designer and say, this is your fault, you need to do this.
It is
But-
my fault. I should have looked at what he did, measured out the old house, add 6 feet over,
Yeah.
measured out and verify it.
I
It's
can
really all my
also-
fault.
But I can also copy your person on the
Yeah.
letter and everything that we get, because it's not just your fault,
Right.
you know,
Well, I'm
so.
fully aware of the 50 feet. I'm not sure if the
I
other guy
know,
was.
but you also trust people who you are paying to get it right.
Yep, no, and there was no
So-
any questions, like, are you
Right,
sure that
so
there was no
it's
questions
not-
or
I
anything
mean-
else? I just
It's not solely your fault.
trucked right along.
Well, then I motion that we fine the property owner, 177 Forest Street, $300 for violations
Yep.
in the 0 to 50, and $300 for the violations in the 52 and 100
Yep.
for expanded footprint as well
Mhm.
as the work limit exceedance.
Yep.
And that we evaluate, in addition, mitigation options for that footprint.
And disposition of the concrete wall.
Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
So on January 3rd, we'll come back. At that time, Brad, you'll have had a chance to go see it out there, and we should be, and I'll have come up with them, and I'll be happy to meet with you, Steve, about mitigation.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a plan, and then I'll sit down with you after the holiday, before we come back on the 3rd. Okay?
Sure. Brad, do you know your scheduled now?
I-
Or between Christmas and New Year's?
I'm not working for the next 2 weeks, so.
You told me.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of
And
time.
I'm retired, so I have time.
Yeah, I have a lot of time, after Christmas, so, maybe that Wednesday, Thursday, are you in
I was trying
town?
to do Wednesday,
Okay,
but let's,
Why don't, Brad, I'll email you
Vacation.
Steve's, I'll email you Steve's email if that is okay with you.
and I'd say copy everybody, if you, in case someone else wants to go.
Right, because Carolyn didn't make it today, or Rob,
Rob-
so.
Rob didn't go?
No.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I don't like to give people's emails out unless I have
Because I'm still
permissions.
confused about it.
Yeah,
So if I'm not going to be in New York, I'd like to come, so
Okay.
let
So
me know
just
when.
keep in mind, if there are 2 or more of you on the site visit, you can take it all in. You cannot discuss mitigation, you
No.
cannot discuss, you cannot have
I
discussions.
need to listen.
Because then it's considered a meeting.
right.
Okay.
That's a violation of
If
the
I'm,
open
if
meeting
I'm
law.
solo, I can talk, but if one other person, you can't.
Well, you can talk, but you can only ask questions. You can't say, well, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
it's all there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go in any building, you
Yeah.
can just
I'm
walk
just-
around and.
I don't want to see a violation of open meeting
Oh,
law.
It's so easy.
Believe it or
proud.
not.
I
So
don't
easy to
mind.
have happen. All right, well, thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
And we appreciate you bringing it in. It does mean so.
Oh, good. I've watched a bunch of your meetings these days, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, for hard work.
Well, it's tough. Yeah, there
Well,
are there are
what to
tougher ones than
protect.
us.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, time for a little calzone.
I
Yeah, we
think
have
so.
a couple little businesses and then we're done.
All right, I
Okay.
might just get a little bite while we're at it.
That was going to be my dinner, too. I'm going to get a piece. Would you like a piece?
No, I have dinner waiting at home for me still, so if I overdo it, I'm gonna get yelled at.
Yes, you will. I have nobody, my husband's in New York. He's
I
out
mean,
to
this
dinner
meeting
with
is
us.
recorded.
Oh, nice.
So
But-
believe me, they're eating.
I don't,
See in Manhattan?
My husband, yeah,
I
he's
don't
working.
talk to the newspapers
He's
unless
retired,
I-
but he's working at
I
the
don't,
hospital for special surgeries.
but anything,
Yeah,
I mean,
Presbyterian
it's all on
Hospital.
tape so they can watch it, that's all. No, I don't,
Just kind
No, I
of,
watched
so.
this. You'll be on what, tomorrow?
probably tomorrow,
I was gonna
yeah.
say, you're pretty quick these days.
It's not me, it's our Channel 18, yeah.
Oh.
But no, I don't, I try not to talk to the press as much as possible.
I did a big thing, my wife.
We have more- we have
Friends, and I
other
think
interesting
guys are
things.
not social people.
Yes.
Not as much.
They're not, I mean, like,
All righty,
go off and
we've
go
got-
to
What a nice piece of property
So I
this
went
is.
out to lunch.
We've got some other
Sure.
business
Well,
here,
there you go.
so.
That's not
But
bad.
then I've been full.
Where'd you
so I
go?
Just over to Wetlands for lunch.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We like this place.
Always good menu.
Yeah.
Well, it's cold in this room.
So I didn't
Oh,
eat
it's
dinner.
freezing in here.
Yeah, you don't need a snack. Right?
It's warm compared to
I
what
had
it was at
breakfast
10 a.m.
about
this morning, and
5:30,
you're
so I'm hungry at this point.
shattering.
That worked out.
All right,
because
well,
I
have a Merry
heard your
Christmas,
points
Steve.
about
You
the
too.
Stockade fence.
And
You know, the
I'll be in
50.
Yeah.
I
And
appreciate
that's
it,
when I
and I'll be in
said, when I
touch,
said
okay?
that, I saw them
Right.
pick
This
up
was
on
just
that right
taken out
away.
of the oven.
It's a tough
and
one.
they're ice
Ernie's
cold.
Ernie's viewpoint is very valid, too.
Thank you for making those.
No, but
No problem.
I figured when you looked at it, it was only a small piece that they had to
Yeah.
worry about there.
All right,
It's a tough one. It is. What do you want us to do, Amy?
sorry, we are on film, and we
Oh.
have to finish some things.
Cranberry
No,
pie.
please eat, it's fine.
No.
We have to do some orders of conditions. I don't have the lease language yet. Oh, sorry. So backtrack. The lease language. I went to the Board of Selectmen on Monday. I mean, they had already recommended to the commission that we approve releasing the bogs, but that was a recommendation to the commission. We needed technically.
I'm sorry, who recommended to what commission?
The Board of Selectmen, when we were talking about the whole Bell's Neck
Right, no, I
bogs,
understand.
it was thought until I found that 2009 letter from Copeland and Page that it was only the Conservation Commission that had jurisdiction over those bogs.
Mhm.
The 2009 letter made it clear that it was while it was under the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction,
Selectmen
the
also.
lease comes from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
Oh.
all right, I thought there was
So
some other
they
commission.
recommended to the commission that we approve it, but it really also needed, they actually needed to approve it too. So with some language changes, it will, and you'll see them, hopefully January 3rd. I just didn't have that yet.
My interpretation of the letter, legal agreement, was that the commission prepared the lease, and then the selectmen also approved it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
We're preparing it.
Okay.
I'm preparing it.
Yep.
I'm gonna put it on January 3rd for your discussion, then
Okay.
it would go to the Board of Selectmen. Sorry, I wasn't clear about that.
All right.
We are, I'm basically taking the old one and we're making some changes. I wasn't planning on limiting it to organic. We'll see what we get for proposals and pick which proposal best meets our desired uses for the property of cranberries. And then, or most in line, most conservation minded, if you will, in mind.
Why not organic?
Why not solely organic? I mean, personally, I think you're only gonna get the organic one, or maybe another one, but, the selectmen, we're also not in favor of solely organic, but that has nothing to do really with us.
Right.
It's something we can talk about.
Yep.
Also gonna do a set rate per year, rather than percentages.
Good.
What I did look at for other lessees was the first 2 years, instead of it being like 1,000, to get them started, especially where this person's gonna have an uphill battle to get things going, you do 500, 500, 500, and then towards the end, you do like 1,250.
Uh-huh.
But give them a bit of a
You're talking
break.
annual
Annual,
fees for lease?
yep. Typically, it's cumulative about, they're not all this way, but most of them are about $10,000
For a 10-year lease.
for a 10-year lease.
Over the term, over
Over
the
the
full
term.
10 years, it equals
Right.
10,000.
Right, so some of them are
That's
blanket
nice.
1,000 a year, some of them are a percentage of the annual
Revenue,
income,
yeah.
which is hard. And then others, which I kind of favor for this one because you're gonna want the grower to spend the money on the bog first, is to do a smaller amount in the first few years and a bigger amount at the end.
I like
But a set amount every year.
Do we know what sort of revenue he would generate from these bogs?
It's hard to tell because of the shape these bogs are in.
Mhm.
And also organic farming. I mean, I can talk to Leo Kakunis or, forget the other gentleman who was here, who was very knowledgeable too.
Because I think
But
it's...
per acre, what is the average?
Yeah, I think we have a responsibility to the town not to undersell them too, or not to
I can look at that.
give them away.
Yeah, I can look at that.
Did the previous leasing pay us at all?
Don't know.
Yeah, see,
I don't know if in the last few years, at the beginning, I think he did, but I'm not positive. I didn't check on the receipts with the selectmen.
I'd like to know that, and I'd love a professional opinion on what the value should be. It's not a lot of money. They're paying to farm that large amount of area. So,
Yeah.
again, I don't...
It's consistent, the 10,000 is consistent with, we have another bog that we lease that's 10 acres and one that's 12. This is right in the middle at like 11.6. The other two are 10,000,
Yeah. But 10 years ago, right?
7 years ago for them, but yeah.
But the price could have been higher then, so it might be, might be...
It's hard, yeah.
But those are the things I'm going to look at. I'll be looking at the language very closely,
Yep.
obviously. And,
But I'd love some help on it.
yeah.
And they
Are
go
there
for
any
10
other,
years?
are there any
They
other
don't have to.
bogs?
They don't have to.
Okay.
I don't favor 10 for this, but it's something we can talk about.
Are there any other
How long does
bogs
it take for them
locally
to get it
that
up to
they
speed?
might share the
He
financial?
said 2 to 3
Yeah, I'll call
years.
Yarmouth. Yarmouth has quite a few active
They
bogs.
prefer
You
longer
know, like
leases.
on a per acre
because they-
basis or whatever,
Right.
just an approximate idea, because I have no clue as to what kind of income they would generate.
I'll call Yarmouth because they have a decent number of bogs still, and see what they do.
These taste better when they're warm.
Oh,
Because
I'm gonna take one home and put in the oven.
No, yeah, and leave these, you can have them for lunches. Take it all.
And I'm glad
They
you're
freeze well,
gonna
too.
do that staggering, because
They're
that's what I
so
would
easy to
suggest.
make.
I didn't know if you were gonna
No,
get that. That's the
no, we're
accountant
gonna-
in me.
It just makes sense.
No, it does, for the startup part of it, and then
Yep.
at
So
the
I'll
end-
have a draft for you. please feel free to pick it apart. It's just gonna be a working draft, okay? We have some orders of conditions. Let's do 14. Let's do 14 Rainbow Way first. This was pretty straightforward. It was a septic upgrade. So this will be,
There was one, Aim, sorry. There was one,
sure.
there was one that we approved where I didn't recall that we required the pump chamber to be removed.
Filled.
This
Well,
one
that was on the
does.
plan.
Oh,
It was
it
on the
was.
plan that they're gonna do that. So
Okay,
I just
all right,
incorporated
fine.
it into the order to have it in 2 places.
All right.
Yeah, that was a note right actually on the plan.
Okay.
I have no comments.
Yeah. I don't have the other two for some reason.
I have copies, I'm sorry. One of them I didn't actually finish because.
I have 2 for this,
Maybe
so
that's
you
fine.
can have that one. No, I actually printed these
Oh, that one I
myself.
got. This is the one I do have.
What's the next one?
I can go make quick copies too.
I can
The
just
next
share.
one,
Well, let's,
62 Clearwater,
Can we
you
go
take
down
it.
this one first?
Sure.
Yeah.
I move that we approve. First of all, any comments on 14 Rainbow Way? None? I move we approve the order conditions for 14 Rainbow Way.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Please sign.
Here, you want to keep this?
What I can do for the next 2 is I can just read you the special conditions if that's easier.
Is Clearwater the next one?
Let's do Clearwater, yeah.
This is yours here.
You can have it.
Okay.
It's more important for you to have it.
No, it isn't. I just have to remember what it is.
You
I
just keep
forget.
it.
So this one, new foundation, this was a big remodel,
Can I borrow it?
and also with the stones, and I've been in touch with the owner to go meet out there and talk with him about the stones at the water's edge.
Okay.
So we haven't set anything, I don't think.
Oh,
but-
that's the one we discussed last?
Yeah, Clearwater, this one. So we put that as to be dealt with on the side, and you voted to approve this.
Right.
Do you need me to read the special conditions quickly?
No,
You got 'em?
I'm scanning them here. Do you
Okay.
have them?
I didn't know if you all had them.
I don't know.
Oh, no, I'll send them
Plus
over.
the
to you.
on-site pre-construction meeting is number 1.
Is that
Sorry.
point about the stones specified here at all, or is it
We
just?
we treated that as a separate issue. I thought we were going
Yep.
to...
He's already been in touch with me.
Okay. So he's gonna remove them, but not as a requirement of the OOC?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't, and all intent, I think will comply. But if he doesn't, it would be an enforcement.
Yeah, that's on the south side of Long Pond?
No, this is on Kitties? No. I can't remember if it's Kitties or Bucks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's in Great Sand Lakes.
Yep.
Pervious pad, okay. Yeah, that's fine. This is fine. This is the Clearwater. I have no comments on that.
Okay.
And do you have the Walkerwoods?
I don't.
Yeah, so all 3 of us don't have the Walkerwoods.
We have to vote on the first one.
I actually don't think I even have that one because Stephanie, I haven't gotten a revised plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would, technically, we didn't close the hearing yet or anything. We voted, we didn't close the hearing, but we're gonna continue discussion on this one, I think. But let me check, let's do this one
We have to
first.
make
I
a motion.
printed everything that
For
you sent out.
Clearwater.
I make
And
a mo-
Walker's Wood wasn't on there.
No, I know, because I was waiting for Stephanie.
I was going to make a motion that we approve the order of conditions for 62 Clearwater Drive.
Second.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign,
Carries.
all I was waiting for was a revised plan with the mitigation changed, and I didn't, Oh, no, here it is, but nobody told me it was here. Well, I don't have, I mean, what I guess we could do, we could wait to sign it, or we could, I haven't even had a chance to look at this plan yet.
That had a few twists to it. that we
So
probably
let's continue, let's vote to continue discussion on this one until next.
should- Okay.
Thank you.
I move we continue discussion on 22 Walkerwood Drive, order of conditions until
January 3rd.
January 3rd.
A second.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Dan, you seconded?
Yes.
Nikki and I are both working on minutes, so we'll, we're gonna hopefully be filling this gap in staffing very soon. So,
What is
that's all I
this
can say.
one?
Actually, the request for certificate of compliance for Tourigny, it's already been issued. The contractor reapplied for it, so I don't know if the homeowner and the contractor just didn't talk, but we don't need to do it.
Okay.
So that's all I got.
Okay.
We just have to vote to close the hearing.
Yep. Amy, I wanted to ask you about a fine issued for South Street.
Yes, actually, I can talk about that a little bit.
Can we talk about it, or should we?
No, other business not reasonably anticipated.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me. I was actually gonna bring it up. I issued a fine for 116 South Street. They came and asked for a permit for an 8x10 shed administratively last year. I was able to get it outside the 0 to 50, so I did it administratively. It's an 8x10. It came to my attention that in the 0 to 50, they were stockpiling a lot of lobster bait traps, a lot of them. I also had brought in fill and were operating a bait shop out of the shed. So I issued a cease and desist, $300 fine to start. It is, all the traps are in the 0 to 50. And told them that they have to get it out by January 1st, or there would be continued enforcement action by the commission.
Right. Is there a chance that we can go look at it?
Yep.
On the day that I go look at,
We can all try to coordinate that, yeah?
right. Yeah, I got a call on it, and I won't be able to vote, because I know.
I know, you know the people.
I know the people, but he was concerned because he thought it was something that wasn't specified that it was a problem when he got the approval for the bait shack. And
I didn't
so-
know it was a bait shack. He told me it was a shed.
Yeah, well, it's not, he's not selling bait, it's a place to store bait,
Yeah.
so.
But also, I haven't even heard from him. I sent him, I've heard he's talked to other people about my letter, but he hasn't even called me.
Right,
So, I mean, just call him. He should just call me.
right. Well, I think he's surprised the process, and so I think we should go there and take a look at it.
I'm gonna go back and look at
see.
the Phil complaint because I was,
Yeah, he didn't mention that.
Huh?
That's.
I thought it was new too, and then somebody else complained that truckloads of fill were brought in to create more of an access road to the shack,
Mhm.
and that would have been in the 50.
All right. Well, let's take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just a couple traps. It
Oh, no.
was a lot.
Yeah, well, it's,
And a boat and a trailer.
right. It is problematic. I think, we have to look at it, but I also wanted to think about it in terms of things like, floats on salt marsh and
Yeah, we looked at that
shellfish.
today too.
I mean, we're not fining for that,
Yeah,
and so that concerns me.
yeah.
So the things that, I'd like to get that process tightened up because we're allowing that to happen. And to me, that's a clear impact to the resource area.
Field trip.
Yeah, I'd love to show you some of the sites I see and the impacts that
Yeah,
occurred.
we saw a couple today.
Yeah. So, all
You
right.
could probably see them in this photo right here, actually. For
Oh,
those
yeah.
that are on the salt marsh.
Yeah, a little further up, but
Yeah.
between the two bridges, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
And I'd love to find compliance with that. And I know if they've been doing it for years, it might not be a fine situation, but we really want compliance over that
Right.
practice. So, okay.
See, I told you I'll be busy kayaking
I know
this
you
summer.
will.
And he said if Brad was here, he wouldn't be happy with that. He would be happy with
I
that.
know.
I
Well,
mean, we're at 44 Chase Street, and they were great. They stored theirs way
Theirs
the heck
way
up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then you look like 2 houses down, and you're like, Oh.
Yeah, there's a few where it's really bad because they shift from year to year and you just see the damage on the salt marsh just keeps shifting.
And
it's-
the ones that I targeted last year for out of Winchmere, who got them out, they're on the marsh again now.
See, I don't want to.
That would be a
In
fine.
that situation, I.
That's a
felt-
fine.
Yeah.
So I just need to time to do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best. I really am.
I'm really surprised that these people don't understand it, because if you don't use your, the thing that you tie the boat to, mooring, for 1 year, you lose it. And they keep track of that, and we're very well aware of that. So why aren't people that have floating docks aware of the fact that if they put them in the salt marsh, that's gotta be a fine, or it's...
It's an old practice.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they've been doing it so long, they don't think it's a problem, but also you'll see it done a lot where it's hard to go see it. And
So they
the
don't-
average
they're not gonna
person
see it.
is not gonna see it.
It's also hard to get it out. It's gonna cost them more money.
It's gonna
to try
cost
and-
money,
I have
yeah.
2 kayaks.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't go after you with kayaks.
No, I can visit the
He's
salt
gonna,
marsh.
he likes to kayak.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely an issue I'd like to make some traction with, and, so, okay. That's all I had for new business.
All right.
Hey, Happy New Year.
I'm
Got
Happy
a
Merry
motion and
Christmas.
second to get out of
I
there.
move that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Have a
carries.
great, warm
Keep it.
vacation.
Oh, thank you. We're looking forward to it. Get out of
That's
the
right, you're heading
cold.
out for a while, Aaron?
Yep. You know, are we off, Amy?
No, not yet. Hold on, I'm not off yet.
Thursday morning.
Possibly.